Ghost check. Ghost check. 1, 2. God, the camera looks awful tonight. What's up? The ghost doesn't like that I changed the colors. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It is Monday. We are here. I am I have put up that I have this is I don't know, man. I don't know. Can we start this over? Or maybe just end it early. How's that sound? Oh, it's so bad. I'm so bad. Miami Spice, how are you doing? Jungle Minx, Shelly. I was told I need to talk to you. Told that you were the smartest person, most creative and innovative person I could find. If I can remember, I'll send you a message later. Merce Turfs, how are you doing? Cool Gamer, what's up? Jonathan, do you have an Academy Sports? Man, I was like, why do I smell bacon? Never mind. Jonathan, do you have an Academy Sports? Because if you do, your avatar is $1 a box cheaper. Price cut today. Eris, how are you doing? So you're just gonna keep on changing avatars to keep me confused? Is that how it is? That's cool. That's cool. Hey, it was so much fun the other day you came on. I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about last week. And also, if everything works out, which right now it's 60-40 that it won't, big plans tomorrow. Big plans tomorrow. You guys will enjoy it. Yeah, it's just going to be a good time. Oh, yes, yes. I'm gonna start charging. I'm just gonna assume that's because you are a computer. You gotta be charged up. Clumsy Clairvoyance, how are you doing? What is happening, Clumsy? What's been going on? I do not see you. I don't know. You just seem hard to find. You seem hard to find. Why are you hard to find? Clumsy, are you tired of me? Are you gonna leave me? Everybody else has. Am I gonna lose you? I could have used you the other day. Really could have used you. But I don't think you love me anymore. I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
I think we got a super chat. I think we got a super chat.
Somebody please give me Clumsy's channel. And will Clumsy please tell me what time she's going to stream tonight? Because I need your loving. I need your attention. I don't know. I thought it was a song, but it wasn't. I was just making up words. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh, look at this. You know what, though? I'm a little needy. I'm a little needy right now. No, I'm just needy. What is wrong with this? Hang on a second here. I cannot handle this. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, gosh, I just hit that. That's not good. Guys, we got some cool stuff tonight. I don't know. I listened to this earlier. Obviously, not this stream. But I listened to, we've been talking about, we've had some like cop stuff and everything lately. And this, I don't know what happened in Florida, but this sheriff down there is really awesome. Really awesome. And I want you guys, it's not what I want to hit. It's not what I want to hit. I want you guys to check him out. He's a Maybe we'll play a little bit of it. Maggie Best, we can't quit you. You know what, Maggie? Thank you. Thank you so much. Because that means the world to me. Um, Last night, I ended up over on Lincoln Caine's. Yeah, I know. I missed members night because I screwed up Discord, which is still evidently screwed up. Anybody know how to unscrew it up? That's bad this time. But up here is beautiful. Hopefully it just gets out here to be that way. But anyway, I was over there at Lincoln's. Danielle came by and got me. I was like, you know what? I do need out of here. And Lincoln Caine's a good dude. We have the same goal. We just do different ways of getting to it. And that goal is to be happy, have fun, relax, take your pants off. He doesn't wear pants. I dug that. But Lincoln Caine had like I don't know, he's a pretty big guy, and his channel got yeeted, and now he's rebuilding it, and so that's fun. It's a hoot over there. But anyway, it's funny because I was there, and it's a totally new atmosphere, right? And all I could think about was I missed you guys. I really did, and like I don't really want like his chat. It's not like how this chat is. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just if you're not prepared, you'd do it wrong, you know. So anyway, Maggie Best, this means the world to me because I was thinking about you. I was like, I can't quit you guys. You're awesome. Thank you. You still have the cutest avatar. I think if we did a cute avatars and ranks, yours is number one. Murph's Turf's really, really close. But anyway, thank you so much. Let's see here. What did I see? What I see? Just Dawn, how are you doing? Just Dawn. So, hang on a second. I just forgot about. Yes, I did. Oh, there it is. I was on the wrong page. Why does that happen to me? Why does that happen to me? Okay, there it is. Bop, bop, bop. I'm in top chat, not. Oh, wait, there it is. Sorry. There we go. Guys, Clumsy's going to stream at some point tonight. Her link is at the top of the chat. Go check her out. You know the rules. We dig her. She's cool. Libby, how you doing, man? Dude, I am so glad. Okay, can I tell the story? My side of the story? My side of the story is that Libby and Just Dawn were going to go to Nashville, and they got. Did you ever see the movie Vacation? They took the wrong exit. They took the wrong exit around Memphis. And anyway, I was worried about them the next day getting out of the place. And what's funny is, you know what I did? Got them out of there. And then I started sending them restaurants. I'm like, man, don't miss the food. Memphis has some incredible food. Memphis used to have great Italian food too. It's hard to beat because they got the best water in the country. But anyway, I'm glad to see you guys are both out there. You're both either on your way back or back. Oh, that's right. Tonight the Cowboys play at some point. So if the Cowboys are playing, you got to keep the score up for us. Just Dawn. She has a job. Matter of fact, that's what you need to do. Every time the Cowboys, you're very passionate about them, just put their score up. Hang on a second. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Bubble Grit, Danielle's teeth sparkle with the light of 300 pearls. You know, I forgot. But you know what? This is a good one, though. Danielle's teeth sparkle with the light of 300 pearls. Hopefully, if Danielle can, she can come over. You're more than welcome to. It was totally like vacation. I love that part. You know what I'm talking about, right? They get off in St. Louis. Hey, man, if I were you, this is what I'd do. Go down here. You're going to see this car. And it's going to be dude in the back of that car. That's my cousin Larry. Go ask him for the directions because, man, I'm not from St. Louis. I don't know. However it is, I love that part, man. That is hilarious. You can only get Great Italian in Little Italy. The rest is meh. Where's Little Italy? I have seen Little Italy's everywhere. I've eaten at the two oldest Italian still running restaurants in America, the one in Philadelphia and the one in San Francisco. You know I got both places to judge? Spaghetti and meatballs. Spaghetti and meatballs. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We see I'm off. I'm off a day. Is that not awful? Um awesome though. That is awesome. Hey, wait, you know what? Because you put up that's the wrong thing. Because of the Cowboys and you doing the celebration. This is what happens when you hit that button. Guys, that also brings me to the fact that iOS 17's been released. What did I do to my thing? iOS 17's been released today, and I think it has. And I'm a beta tester, right? Now, if Volstorm was here, he would tell you. So, here's the thing. I like getting the early edition stuff. And what it is long time ago, the White Rabbit did not ever update her phone. It's like, honey, you got to update your phone. There's security things. There's all this stuff. You got to keep this up to date. Like, you don't have to do it the day of, but you can't just say, no, I'm not going to ever do it. Like, she lost the ability to use her Chick-fil-A app because she didn't update her phone. So, anyway, she goes to update her phone. Oh, excuse me. I updated her phone. And during the update, all of her pictures got lost. It was a glitch early on when you had too big of an update. Like she went from like iOS 5 to like iOS 13. It's like ridiculous. And I was like, I've always felt bad. So I always tell her, I'm like, go ahead and update. Well, I also, being foolish, is that I do by doing the beta thing, I can go ahead and tell her, like, I wouldn't update yet. They got to get their first thing out because some of them are still a little quirky. But I like iOS 17. Do yourself a favor. If you download it, immediately find a video, whatever you want to on YouTube that shows you everything to do with it because there's a lot of new features and you're going to have fun. You really need to learn them to experience everything that your phone has to offer. Mrs. K. Griff, how are you doing? I read that as the rest is meth. Right? Meth is good. Judge Dredd. I know it's Joseph Dredd, but isn't that his name? Judge Dredd? I thought maybe not. I don't know. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's happening. I don't know where we are, what yesterday is. I do know tomorrow is tomorrow Friday? No, it's what day is tomorrow? Tuesday. Tomorrow is Taco Tuesday. And also, so last week was the trial stuff. I did like 60 hours worth of trial coverage. That's a lot of stuff, man. That's a lot of stuff. Plus did Friday Night Live. It's awesome. It was awesome. I'm still not a trial guy. And I know so, but guess what? I am an entertainer, and I do look at how this industry works. I follow it because I always want the best for y'all. And you know what I noticed is there's a trend. Everybody is covering like court TV and law and clerk or whatever they are, crime and law. Dan Abrams' place. Anyway, oh, what's happening? Club goes up on a Tuesday. You know what, Diva? You just reminded me.
Like you, 'cause you got that something that I need. I like, so give it to me. Got that. Like you, 'cause you got that something that I need. I like that I need.
That I was going to put up a poll about redheads today. Didn't get to that. There's a lot of stuff. So here's the poll about redheads is that we want to see how many, because a year ago it was like 28% or something like that of the female population were redheads, which in reality or in real life, in 3D world, it's like 2%. I was like, man, that's so awesome. We got 80% female and like 30% of them are redheads. I'm an anomaly. I like that. That's so cool. So anyway, we've got to update and see what's happening there. Um, wait. There he goes. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? I consider myself the ambassador for the gingers. I'm the spokesperson for them. Don't have a red hair in my ass, but I'll tell you what, I will stand up for them 6 ways to Tuesday. If this thing doesn't stop moving, Toy Box Brain, how you doing, brother? How's it going, man? Redheads are great. They can get away with some dark stuff because the whole no soul thing. Sexy. I need to do a sexpert stream. I thought about that today. Diva, I thought about you. So if I did that, I'd do 18 and up only. And I've got an idea for something. Or I need an IV. I forgot to shave today for like the third day in a row. And it's been a week since I've shaved. Yeah, this is a week without shaving. Somebody last night complimented me on Lincoln Caine's for being clean shaven. I was like, boy, my wife was here. She'd tell you. I was like, I have a bunch of dead ants up there. Sea Swept, how are you doing? I'd be worrisome if you had red hair in your ass. I love it when I say little things like that and y'all pick it up. And not everybody does that, okay? Y'all here do. And so I'll do something like that in a different chat or something. And I'm like, very few people ever notice it. What is happening here? Hang on a second. Let me do something here real quick. Let's stop that. Ooh. Oh my. I'm in the dark now. Guys, what do you think about the logo? I'm thinking about changing it a little bit. Just because I like options. Right? You know, it'd be cool if it glowed. You know, have like a little glow in the dark logo. There we go. Is that any better? If you do have red hair on your butt, you'll have some explaining to do to the white rabbit. She's downstairs doing laundry. Daisy girl, how are you doing? Neckpert stream? Awesome. Let's see here. I just give the kids a haircut. Never have clippers near hair when you're about to sneeze. That's the truth. You know what? I've got some Wall WAHL clippers, and I cleaned them one time, and I was like, "There's no way this is happening to me," because like things always like disappear, right? Man, what is up with this? I cannot handle this stupidity. Maybe I need to turn that down a little bit. Y'all are looking out for me behind here, right? I don't know. Just got a little spooked. Oh, that's bad. There we go. I'm gonna make it. You know what I need to do? I need to clean out the. Oh, that's not it. I need to clean out the back here. Lasers. That's so cool. I wish I could just keep it like that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the clippers. So I took them apart, cleaned them, put them back together. They don't work again. I mean, they work, but they like unscrew and stuff. I'm like, what is happening here? Why is it still not focusing? So anyway, so there I was. Oh my gosh, look who's here. Shanagram, how are you doing? Would you please smile? You look so serious. What am I doing not smiling? It's my camera's out of whack. Look at this. Did y'all hear the story about the light bulb and the lamp? My light bulb and lamp. So, I've got a stockpile of incandescent lights. There we go. We're going to turn on lighting. Make sure this thing isn't back here. No, anyway. So, and the, oh, that's bad. So anyway, I'm sitting here. I did not move. Look at that. You guys see it? It's a full blown, all the time apparition. There's nothing moving back here. I have nothing here moving. Look, I've got the camera, all of that stuff. It's off. There's no. I don't have the portrait mode on. I turned it off. I can turn this off. That's the only thing that's different. But that looks bad. I've watched a lot of ghost stuff, man. And it's always like, oh, we're going to get some film footage stuff. And I'm getting it full blown. I'm going to die. They're going to suck my soul down to hell. I've had a really bad day. Stressful day. It's at that point where I'm like, didn't take it. The reflection of the glass is doing it. Saying what? Making it move? You know, it shouldn't. Doesn't the rest of the time. We gotta add another light. Now this is really starting to hurt me. Anyway, Last Man Standing. Oh, it did an episode about black market incandescent light bulbs. Yes, I do. I have a bunch of, but guess what? I never have enough. So I've got a lamp right here that when we moved everything out of here, put the new floors in, I was like, I gotta have a lamp. Like, I need a lamp. I need some sort of lighting right over here. It drives me nuts. I hate the darkness. Like, this is great because it's so much brightness right here. But when I'm not like this, it sucks. Anyway, I just realized something. I'm so stupid. But anyway, it's an incandescent bulb, right? And I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden, right here, the thing flickers, and it goes. Everybody knows that sound, right? I was like, holy moly, because I was thinking the light was unplugged. And I'm like, well, now, isn't that special? So then I tell the white rabbit about it the next day, and I said, Hey, come here and check this out. Well, it was plugged in, but it was plugged into a surge protector. The surge protector that this very computer is on. The nice one. So she unplugs it, hands me the lamp. I go, wait a second. Like I look at, I didn't even unscrew it. I was like, it doesn't look like it popped. Plug it into the wall outlet on the hallway, and it came on. Told you about the window being open the other day, right? Hang on, give me a second. This thing is driving me nuts. I mean, what is happening? I gotta get a new everything. I've got a new lens cover for this that is, because like they get scratchy. Well, I got it because White Rabbit needed one. So I was like, well, we'll just do 2 for 1. Anyway. What's wrong with my phone? So, that's not working. So then White Rabbit tells me, yesterday, this morning, something like that the lock on the garage door, we've got these, like deadbolt deals, like, go like from the door to the wall, whatever those things are. She said, I had this locked. And she does. She has it locked all the time. So that's a natural thing for her. It's unnatural for it to not be locked. She said, this was open today after I locked it. I was like, oh. She said, no, I could be losing my mind. I was like, yeah, I know. That's what I said the other day. I was like, no, it's the poltergeist. So anyway, what's happening here? Let me get back into hello, Charlemagne. How you doing? Some bad ombre headache. Oh man, that sucks. They really are. So the worst light bulb in the world is fluorescent. That's the first time I was like, man, I can't do this. I can't do fluorescent bulbs. Then when everybody started getting LCD screens, so I was like, oh, I got that. Like LCD screens messed me up. Found out is the refresh rate. So then LEDs came out. I'm like, oh, they're so much better. Well, guess what? LEDs, they're going to last 30 years. They don't. Every single one of those $10 damn bulbs I bought because they're going to last 30 years and we're going to save the turtles from drinking out of straws. They all blew up. And I started noticing as they get older, they flicker. Guess what else I found out? The state of California has California-specific LED bulbs. They cannot flicker in California. So if you want a good light bulb, good LED, get Californian. Now, it may cause you to reproduce and get cancer. Whatever that warning is. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. I am running behind on this. What I do see swept. What happened now? Cheeseburger? Did you guys see a cheeseburger or something? Did something fly by me? I was learning a few minutes ago, today is National Cheeseburger Day. Oh, well, that's cool. That's awesome. Have you noticed like every day is a national something? Like there's like 5 things for every day. I accidentally exploded a light bulb once. My dumbass put an ice cube on a hot light bulb. Oh, it was turned on. I was a kid, but still. And when you say a kid, were you 18? Because this sounds like something. I've seen this in a how-to manual before. Anyway, let's see here. What else is happening? Oh, save turtles from drinking straws. Yeah, see, I'm not a big believer in that. It's kind of like the manatee that had was a Trump voter, ended up being fake. Yeah, all that stuff, man. It's oh, okay. That's different. That's innocent then. That's innocent. I love Wimpy. Of course, I love Popeye. Yeah, the straw deal. So see, here's what I read that as, why am I getting a velvety ad? I was like, well, I know why you're getting a velvety ad, babe. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, the sea turtles drinking straws. So here's the thing. I live in the mountains of Tennessee. There ain't no drinking straw of mine is ever making it down to some sea turtle somewhere. And I just am supposed to assume and believe that it's there, and let the sea turtle didn't want it to begin with. Maybe the sea turtle saw it and thought, oh, that's the most beautiful thing I ever saw in my life. Maybe that sea turtle wanted to be a unicorn. I don't know. I don't speak turtle. But all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we gotta get rid of straws for peaches over here. I'm sitting here going, wait a second. You know, that's the same argument. You got to get rid of paper straws because it was killing the Amazon forest. Is the Amazon forest still around? Is that something we care about anymore? What about saving the whales? Are we done with that? I mean, who knows, man? I don't. All I know is you got to save something that has something of emotional value they can attach to you until it runs out of money, and then you got to save something else different. And in the meantime, Coca-Cola with corn syrup instead of sugar cane. I don't know why Mexicans are leaving Mexico. You get the good Coke. Why is bok choy so good? I'm not sure I'm familiar with bok choy. Right? I mean, have you seen those subs they make? They make more technologically advanced subs to run cocaine up to Miami than they do to run out there to the Titanic, which, by the way, I just want y'all to know, it's sunk, it's on the bottom of the ocean, and it's rusty. Okay? And Steven Spielberg, or whatever the guy's name is, made the movie. It's a fake movie. There's no Jack and Diane. They weren't kids growing up in the heartland or any of that stuff. It's gone. It's stupid. It's dumb. Get over it. You know what? We can't go back to the moon. And that's some shit. Because we lost the engineering. Those guys supposedly used hammers and did it by hand. Engineers, they put things together and then goes to the manufacturing floor and they don't fit. I don't know how many engineers are hammering stuff together to make it fit. Now, some good old boys down in Tennessee would, I know that. But you know what else I know? I know this is trouble right here. How are you doing, Daniel? Oh, wait a second. I got to have my headphones. How are you doing? Why did you keep me up so late last night? Discuss.
Yeah, no, that was funny though. It was fun, right?
Oh yeah, totally. It was awesome.
But I can see what you're saying and how like it makes you appreciate what you got going on here. You know, for sure, because it's a whole different world over there, and it is for me as well, which is why I had to drag you on there with me. You know, but we ended up being the highlight, which was funny.
It was crazy. Hang on a second. I just realized
Lincoln loves you.
He's a nut, man. He's a nut. He needs to, I don't know, get a hobby or something if he likes me. So anyway, guys, Lincoln Caine, if you don't know him, check him out. Good dude. Oh my gosh, speaking of good dudes, look at that right there. The baker just dropping a like before I go to sleep. How can you go to sleep, man? There's so much action happening. Joseph Dredd says, hello, Danielle. You know, you got a few people here. You got a fan base over here.
Do I really?
Oh. Yeah, I've seen about your pearly teeth and Danielle's a hoot and where is she?
I'm a hoot. Funny.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff,
that's the first.
No, it's not. Jonathan, yes. The answer for this is yes. Yes.
Is LC drunk before he drinks? Absolutely.
The dude is the dude. But it's funny because I don't know. It was. I'm hearing stuff from Danielle, and I'm like going, I don't recognize some of the stuff because I've been here for so long and doing all this stuff. And I just think this is how everybody is. But it was like, there's some drama that goes on over there, and
Oh
like
yeah.
Lincoln was like, "Why are we doing the drama, man?" And but it kept going on, and then you have the chat saying, "Oh, I hate this part." Weird, right?
Yeah. But it goes on and on and on. Like I had went off of it, and when we were done, went back on it. Like I don't know, maybe a little bit later, and they were still arguing. Jeez.
Oh, I know. And I'm like, the one guy, I'm not gonna say names because I don't want to upset his channel or anything like that, but he was arguing with Lincoln saying, I don't know, it's like the way you do your channel or something. I'm thinking to myself, dude, you're a guest in this
Yeah.
sandbox, you know? I don't know,
Exactly.
man. It's crazy
Exactly.
how people get. It's crazy how people get.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. He's good to us. Oh,
Mhm.
and guess what? So I woke up this morning. I told White Rabbit about it, and she's like, "Of course you were on a stream last night."
Yeah. Of course.
And she's like, "Well, at least you had Danielle there." I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I mean, it's her fault. You can get mad at her. Get mad at her. I think I'm
You're
gonna
not
go
gonna
over
get
there."
mad at me. No
No,
way.
she's not. And she said, "Yeah, well, you can blame anybody you want to, but you were the one who said yes." Um, she
Oh, that
said,
was
"Yeah,
good.
okay." And what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I told her, I said, "Yeah, Lincoln's a good guy, blah blah blah. It was great to be back on his show again." And he invited me on for this Saturday. And she said,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah, I forgot about that.
she said,
Oh yes, I forgot about that. Oh my god, we
yeah.
both said we'd do it. Are we still going to?
Well, you know what my rabbit said to me?
What?
Oh, I guess I'm going to the Tennessee game by myself then."
Oh no, no.
I totally forgot. Totally.
Maybe Lincoln's already forgot. So it's
So yeah,
okay.
well, no, I don't know, man. He never forgets. Somebody in the chat will be asking him or something. So I'm gonna
Oh
send him a message, be like,
no.
"Dude," my wife
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, that'd be great," except that she was gonna take somebody else to the game.
Yeah,
And I was like,
no.
"Oh no,
That can't
I couldn't do that."
happen.
No.
No, what was it, ladies' night? Saturday night light? Or
Yeah,
Saturday
Saturday
night?
night is ladies' night over at his place. So ladies, oh, he sent me that link from like the last time he had. He's like, "Oh man, you gotta check it out." It's like, I had these Colombian women. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Dude, it
Jeez.
looked. Dude, so I hit play. I don't see anything, and I just had it in the background while the stream was going on. While I go over there, I was like, "Oh, like he means like it was like the Hawaiian tropic looking girls." It was hilarious, man. I was like, "Well, dude is the dude."
He had Hawaiian Tropic Girls on there?
No, but they looked like they belonged.
Oh,
They all
really?
had the
That's
all had the dark
impressive.
tan and had the assets.
Look who's in chat, expert.
Uh oh, great,
It's Gosney.
great. The one person whose opinion I care about, and here I am talking about
What we did.
debauchery.
Hey, I'm
Lincoln
in it
K.
with
Yes.
you.
Oh, I know, but he'll continue to like you. He's just thinking to himself, he's like, "Oh, that expert guy.
Oh, not true.
He's trying to spoil Danielle, make her a bad person."
No, no, that's probably what they think I'm doing with you.
Oh no,
No, that's funny.
no.
We went in that together yesterday, so that was something
Well,
that we could talk about anyway.
it was funny because I don't know. It's just the way you're like, "Hey, Lincoln Kane." I really wanted to see that. I hadn't seen him forever, and I was like, "Cool." And then it's like you're like, "I'll go on if you go on or whatever." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh man," I was like, "Yeah."
And then
Like
he
I
was
don't want
looking
you.
for you. He's like, the expert. I missed the expert. And I was like, the Hala wasn't kidding how he loves the expert.
That's
Because me and this
hilarious to
girl were in
me,
chat talking about you, that one girl. That
Ashley.
yeah. So yeah. And then he saw that and his eyes lit up. So he wanted you on there. I was like, okay, well, we can maybe make that happen.
I love that. I love that. Of course, I'm gonna do whatever you want me to too.
Aw.
Guys, please, please go to the top of the chat here. If you're not already subscribed to the one of the brightest legal minds I've had the pleasure to talk to, and I say pleasure, man, it's not the right word. Maybe it's the been fortunate enough to. Steve Gosney, go check out his channel. Please subscribe to it. Help him grow. The guy comes over to YouTube. I kid you not. This is a Gosney story, okay? Like, I've never seen anything like this. Like, I keep hearing about this guy. I'm like, well, what's his channel? And like, I don't even think he had a YouTube channel. He was on
Rumble.
the other, yeah. So then he starts a YouTube, and within 2 days, he had over 1,000 subs. I'm like, this is unbelievable. I was like, this is great. I love being part of that too. You know, I love.
And he
seeing
remains
that
very humble about it, you know, and it's just like, it's like, whatever, you know, I got my day job.
I guarantee you, he would be like, yeah, I don't even know like how many people I have. You know, he doesn't.
Yeah,
he's focused on his issue, and he, you know,
Mhm.
it's if the issue hits him, he's like, and he is. I don't know. I like it because he catches the things on the outside of stuff
Mhm.
like I do. You know, like the small little. No, not always the things that you need to be focused on, but
Yeah.
he takes those and perfectly analyzes it to why it applies to the bigger argument.
Mhm.
So, well, it's true, man. It's true. It's yeah, we're both big fans.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
wait. Where'd it go? Did I show this? This is Steve
Yay!
Gosney's last book, The Summer Friend, and that is the quickest shipping I've ever seen in my life.
Mhm.
I ordered this on his birthday party stream, and that night, and then it was, what was his birthday, on a Thursday? And
It was on the 7th is all I know. Listen to me. Oh, except on the 7th. So I think it was, I don't have my calendar hanging up. I knocked it down when I was sleeping. Yeah, it was on the, I know his birthday was on the 7th, so.
Okay. So like it was.
I don't know if it was on a Monday. Well, I'm trying to think.
Hey, you know what I have? I have a calendar as part of a program. Oh, there it is.
Him and his wife do all the shipping.
It was Thursday. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, awesome. Well, evidently I spelled my name wrong or something because the name was wrong. The address was right. The most important thing is the billing was right, but the name was spelled wrong. I was like, huh. I guess I'm still the expert. I didn't dox myself, but he's one of the only people I would trust.
Oh yes, he is. Yeah. He's my mentor, so he's my most trusted, and he's one of the best people I know for sure.
How did you find Steve?
Okay, it's kind of a funny story. It's a good Gosney story, but on my end, I remember seeing him one night on Rekieta's. And it was the first night he ever met with Rekieta, and Rekieta called him Steve Gosney. I remember it. But so
they didn't know each other before then?
I don't think so. They met each other through Branca, Andrew Branca. So I watched that whole, I think it was like 2 or 3 hours with them talking, and I was absolutely blown away.
You're like glued to the every word, right?
I was like, this man is something special. Like, not only is he bright and charismatic, like, you know, whatever, all, you know, the list goes on. I was like, this man is special and he's rare. And so I remember him, and it was right when he was just doing Rumble, and he was talking about a book that he was working on, which is Answers and Ideas in Law. Mm-hmm. And so I remember being in Daytona with my son. It's when the first hurricane from last year was hitting. And I said, while we're here, I'm going to see if I can get a hold of Steve Gosney through this Rumble channel. My son's like, Mom, you can't just do that. I was like, no, I'm going to see if I could buy one of his books. And it was before he even had his book even out. So, but I was like, that would be a good conversation starter, you know, not to be like creepy, but say, hey, I'm an actual fan of yours. And somehow I ended up getting his email, I think through his Rumble channel. And I just reached out to him, and I had spoken to him in chat before too, and let him know, hey, I was in Daytona. And he's like, yeah, he's like, get in touch with me. And if you're ever in the area, we'll have lunch. Well, I I kept on following him on Rumble, always in the chats where he was at, just happened to be, like legal vices and stuff like that. So anyways, I remember sitting in the email one time after communicating with him and I said, I would love for you to be my mentor. Like, I just look up to you. I love what you have to say. And that's something I really need in my life. And he said, I will do my best for you. Absolutely. And then I got to meet up with him and his wife and his son. He's got an amazing family. His wife is so cool, just as cool as he is, and can carry a conversation, talk to her about anything. So it's just a real blessing to have them in my life. So but I know I can go on forever. I'd love to
what's funny is that I talked to Valhalla. He had lunch with him. You talking about meeting him stuff like Valhalla did,
Yeah.
And then he started telling me about all this stuff, and I was like, it was funny because I actually I was like, he started telling me things. And I was like, dude, like, see, Valhalla's not from Tennessee originally, and so you hear like these horrendous crimes and stuff that happen around the state, and where he took Ghazni, there was a storage unit right there where one of the worst crimes in that area had ever happened. They found it involved two people in oil cans, 55-gallon drums. Yeah. So anyway, I was gonna tell it to him when we had a chance to talk in private, but I just we're all friends here.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's great though, man. Danielle, that's great.
Yeah.
Gosling's got this way with when he wants you to know something, or the way he explains it is he takes a very hard and complex subject and he unwraps it and into something that's very easy and simple to understand for anybody. That to me shows genius.
Yeah.
You should have seen me, because trials bore me for the most part, because I'm great with opening arguments, closing arguments, but I hate DNA testing. I mean, come on, I hate that. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard. And but as stuff was happening, people would ask me questions on this ozone case that I covered last week, which I thought it was like I thought it was an environmental case at first. I didn't know I didn't know anything about it. I just thought, because everybody does
expert.
Yeah.
Like
everybody does true was it Court TV or Law and Crime Network.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to find something that's like outside of that.
Sure.
And so when people are like, how'd you find this? I was like, strange thing is, I really in law school I really liked environmental law. And I was like, I figured it'd be a good place for me. I was like, not many people like me there. But anyway, there's something wrong with me. But it was funny because Iron Rabbit, said to me, she thanked me because during the trial I had set up a Discord with all the stuff. Like, I was taking screenshots of the evidence they were using, stuff, put on these things in Discord. If there was an issue, or like they said, like I was like crime mapping was brought up. Like, well, what's crime? So I found something I put in there, and she was like, like the Fourth Amendment thing came up. I said, here's a good article, and she was like, thank you so much. I've never seen anybody try to explain this in a simple way. And I'm sitting there going, Ghazni does it, man. It's easy when you take. He makes you feel comfortable, so a lot of people don't think of it as like why he makes you feel comfortable, and other people don't. It's because he's just laid back and extremely intelligent. So anyway,
and sometimes it's like when people are intelligent, for me, I find it to where it's like I just want to understand them. You know what I mean? And with Ghazni, it's like he can get on your level with what you need to know, or he'll just plain teach you. And he did this thing the other day about what is it? Something with the biases. I wrote every single thing down in my notebook, and I like what is it? What was it called? Something by. I wrote it down. I have it. Like I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna go ahead and write that down and look at it later.
Mhm.
I'm a nerd like that, but it's like I'm interested in what he has to teach us, because he's teaching all of us, and I want to know about it. So, and I know if I
And
have questions, I could just go back and ask him, anything I need to know.
that's something else that uh, I guess like let me get my thoughts here on this. Hold on, where was that one? This was cognitive bias. I don't need sound, but I am going to put a link to the video you're talking about.
It's the biases,
Yeah, cognitive bias.
cognitive biases, yeah, and it has the different ones like the.
And yeah, there you go. So I put
I
that link
really
up.
enjoyed that stream.
It's a great stream. I didn't get to watch the full thing.
I
And
didn't either, but I
it's
did.
saved.
I said I really enjoyed that stream, but yeah, I didn't watch all of it either. No, but I did take notes. I paused it on the chart and I got them all down. Some of them I put in the wrong slots, so I had to put arrows to what meant what. I'm such a dork.
You know what? It's funny how you said you took notes and stuff. You know
I'm a note taker.
his death penalty debates book.
Yeah.
For me, very, 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 very hard to get through because I have. See, it's for everybody else. They love it, and it's so great. And I'm so glad that it is because it's very well written, and
Mm-hmm.
it allows you. It opens your mind up for creative interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to create a debate. And I say debate. I had a professor in college said, he got mad at us one day. He goes, "Damn, I'm trying to teach you kids so you can go to a cocktail party and not look like idiots."
Yeah.
And so this is that book. It does that. My problem is that there were so many notes that he had in there that I immediately when I read them and it's down to a sentence. It applied to something else I've thought about or was
Oh,
on is
interesting.
on my mind currently or something. And so I had to stop, had to get the pen out, had to get the highlighter and start highlighting stuff. And then I'm like, where does all this go into? How do you organize? I say I suck at organizing, but it was I
I
don't
do
know.
too.
It was great for me. Not yeah, it was great for me because I caught myself taking so long and everything because I was so interested in other aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was interested in the title. Like that was the first conversation we had. Was he said, how do you stand on death penalty?" And I was like, I'm probably gonna upset her about what I say because I'm a smart ass.
Yeah.
And I was like, it doesn't work. It's a waste of taxpayer money. You need to stop it. Or either do it or don't do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think you'd like my book. And I was like, oh, I didn't mean to go this far.
Yeah. Now you're invested.
Oh yeah, yeah. It makes you
Yeah.
want to read other things and stuff. So
Yeah, that's how I was with Prepared. Like I read that inside and out, and sometimes like I went through it a second time, and Gosney was like, "Why?" I was like, "Because there's things that stand out to me when I first read it that I needed to read again to let it really like resonate with me because it did." But I had to write that down too, and I literally did a whole notebook of writing down notes from Prepare, and that has
no,
become the most important book that I own by far. I love it.
I've not read it, and
Oh,
I know
it's
Valhalla has,
wonderful.
and he echoes your sentiment. He said everybody was it. He's every every young man needs to read this book. He said I've read
Absolutely.
it like 3 times. I'm like,
It's important.
what is the without giving away anything of it? What's the I mean, can you describe a part of it, anything? I don't know how to ask a question
It's
about
like,
books. I'm not
for
usually a
me, it was
reader.
like, about the individual freedom, just taking your life back. And as a single mom, like, it really, like, it resonated with me because, like, there's things that I need to learn and how to be more independent. And he teaches you how to be more, like, prepared for, things like to prepare for a hurricane, even. Like, and that is essential to me, like, living in Florida. And even so
Hmm.
much as having a bigger vehicle, like, if you need to use that for shelter. I ended up going to get a Subaru just like Steve. Like for real. I mean,
Oh,
I needed a different car anyways, and it just so happened that I got a good deal on a good car. But anyways, there's things about with your kids, like how to different things like how to be with your kids and the importance of like homeschooling, things like that. There's so much that goes into that I needed to hear. There's just different, and there's spiritual, there's spirituality in there, but it's not cramming down your throat. It's for anybody to read. Anybody. They see the fish on the front and they're like, oh God, this is one of those godly Gosney books or whatever, they're thinking.
Godly Gosney. That's awesome.
He is a Christian man, and he takes pride in that, but it's not centered around just one core value. It's a multitude of things, and it helped me tremendously. And it's very, you could tell he's put a lot into it, and it's like he's like teaching us things,
what's the names Winning Reality can look it up?
The name of what?
The book.
Oh, Prepared.
See, I always think it's gonna be like a hard. I can't remember titles very well. It's like I always think it's gonna be a lot harder. Prepared seems. Well, I've never been prepared, so I probably need to read that.
It's me either. Like I am one of the most unorganized, most distracted, ADHD. I don't know what it is. Dyslexic. Like I'm very like I don't know. I'm all over the place. Sometimes I wonder how I even get through my days. Like I'm just like, wow, how did I manage A, B, and C? I take notes. I have to make lists.
I mean, I'm the choir and you are the preacher. Go for it.
Yeah. So. Prepare the handbook for individual freedom. That's the whole title to that. But I index like with the bookmarkers, and I write different things like about education. I'll put the education tab. Relationships. He even speaks about that. How to be a healthy single parent, and he even speaks on his own experience being raised by a single mother. And there's such good, like, I would say, not like quotes, but it's like Gosney's wisdom, and I would write those quotes down, like they're quotes, put it in my Facebook. So anyway, I get really excited when I talk about that book. It is beyond amazing.
Wait, did you say you take the quotes and put on your Facebook?
I have, yeah, several of them.
Oh, that's crazy.
They're amazing. Like they speak volumes. I wish I could remember one by heart.
But that's really good though. That's really good.
They're very positive, and he speaks about humility. Like that's a huge deal for me, is humbleness. And I like that topic, and I like to hear other people's take on that, especially my own like mentor, So it just, he mentors us all in that book. It's amazing.
It's so funny you say that. I really wish. I just read something last night, maybe, and it was talking about being humbled, and because that's me. Like I can't believe. I don't know. I don't think anything special about myself or anything like that, right? It's. I mean, I'm just some dude wearing sunglasses. And it really amazes me that anybody would come over here and listen to me, or anybody would say, "Hey, I want to go on a stream. Will you go with me?" I mean, that is just. I'm like, yeah, if you want me to, sure. I'm honored. But it's being humble is the key to everything. And it's funny. My father-in-law is the first person I can remember saying that, because he was very active in politics, and I forget how the conversation came about. And he said, "Expert, you know what I say to all my politicians?" I'm like, no. And he says, "I tell them all the time, it's like be humble." And I'm like, that's a really good thing. That's a solid point to make. So,
and it takes being honest with yourself. Like that's one thing that Steve really, speaks big on is, and taking responsibility and accountability for your life, and not living in the past.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Sometimes my inabilities to do things embarrasses me. I'm so dumb.
You're not dumb, but that's you being honest with yourself and how you see things, and that's what makes you humble.
No, Danielle, what it is that words are hard for me.
They're hard for me.
That's
too.
what it boils down to. Words are hard for me. All right, hang on a second. I'm gonna send a link. I thought I was putting a link up. I didn't know what I was doing. Let's see. How do I go from here? Am I in the right place? I never am. Um, Come on. Why is it slow when I need to be fast? That sounds like a. What does that sound like? It sounds like an Eagles song, doesn't it? All right. Um, let's take it easy. All right. I sent it out. I sent it out. Steve's still here. Maybe we
that'd
could
be cool
get
if you
him
could
on here
stop
for a
by.
second. That'd be awesome. That'd be
Yeah, and
awesome.
and then he could break it down too if he comes on, his take on Prepare. Like, of course he wrote it, but like he
Oh,
said in the chat, that's one of the most important books that he's wrote, and it was a blessing for me to read and just to very much like invest in. Because, like I said, I'm ADHD. I'm like
yeah.
dyslexic. I read back to front like an Arabic.
You
Like,
know, you know what? I have to admit, I'm kind of a sneak when it comes to a little self promotion. So maybe I'm not all that humble, but with a name like the Expert, you have
Oh,
to
the
be.
expert's here. Yeah, the
mhm.
expert is cool. My new buddy, he's cool.
And there he is, Steve
Oh,
Gosney. Welcome to the show,
my
man.
ears
Thank
are
you so much for being.
burning. My ears are burning.
Well, I mean, you have probably your two biggest fans. Um,
Well, I know that Danielle is one of my earliest supporters, and I'm just so honored to be her mentor. She
Yeah.
chose me, and that is a real honor. And we're going to hopefully see each other in first
October.
part of October. You're coming over to Ormond, and we'll have to have lunch or something.
Mhm.
I have a professor friend of mine who's going to be visiting, so he might tag
oh,
along.
awesome.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what we can. We got to organize something. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be great. And then I can
Yeah.
get my poster.
Yes, I got your poster right over here. That's it right over there. Oh, and check this out. I'll show you a couple things. I got my jammies on. Is that okay?
I
Oh,
love
yeah.
those, by the way. I've mentioned them like 3 or 4 times to my wife that I have to get some. And she's like, "Why do you need Gosney's pants?" I'm like, "Well, not his pants. They're red, white, and blue." I love that.
Well, see, we've Danielle got this on her birthday stream, and I signed
Mhm.
it for her on the back because she wanted
Gonna
that.
go right back
There
here.
you go.
And then
Awesome.
it's gonna go back there. But you don't have to put it back there. But,
Oh,
It's
it's
gonna
and then
cover.
check this out. This is my
advertising.
fantasy novel, my map for my fantasy novel I'm working on. So I'm
Oh,
mapping
nice.
out the world that I'm building with my
Oh,
next
neat.
novel. So that's what that is. Let me put this. I don't know.
Are you doing the Gosney version of Lord of the Rings?
No.
Well, I mean, the map got me because I was like, man, that's pretty intense.
Yeah. Well, no. what was it? I wanted. No, that's a ways off. In fact, I'm trying to be patient with that. The next book out is going to be Brucey the One-Eyed Wonder Dog, which is like I only have 2 more illustrations to be finished, and the artist is working on them, so that's going to be out for Christmas. And then
Smart.
the other one is well, I maybe start working on Death Penalty Designs, which is the follow-up to Death Penalty Debates. And I will say that I am so happy right now. And I kind of was browsing around because I'm celebrating.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they're sick of me saying I got a death penalty case, and like that sort of thing. And I'm almost done with it today. I just rocked it today.
Oh,
Just crushing it. And so I'm what happens is I've got all the points, I've got all the facts, I got all this stuff, and it gets narrowed. And I've just got down to just this core little thing that I need to edit and chop apart. And when I get that done, then it goes off to the Death Penalty Division Chief for editing. But it's kind of, I'm building it sort of as a modular brief because this is a long-term, I'm kind of my next goal or my lifetime career goal now is to have Florida's death penalty statute found unconstitutional. And that is the U.S. Supreme Court will have to pronounce that because the current makeup of the Florida Supreme Court is not going to do that. They were appointed specifically to defend the death penalty in Florida. But Florida is such an outlier that we got our neck so far out that I'm going to chop it right off. So, but it may not be this case. It may be multiple cases down the road before it. So the point that I'm working on is that point. and I've got to do my absolute best on that point. And then it's going to be modular, so that next death case I can say, and the statute's unconstitutional, right? And I can just cut and paste that whole thing into another one with it, because it applies to every death case so I'm really happy. I've gotten to a point where it's like I'm so close to this being finished, or at least having the first big draft done and off to the printer. It's actually 117 pages without the other part, and it needs to be 100 pages. So I'm going to have to edit a lot. But anyways, I'm just talking. Yeah, you got me.
No, man, no, because I'm working very hard in my brain right now to think of I have a question for you, but I don't want to sound stupid with the question. So that's why I'm sitting here trying to think of it through. Making law simple network. So Michigan law has an identity crisis, and he changes his name every 3 days.
And he's got a problem too, is that he thinks as a prosecutor he has the power of subpoena over the defense attorney. What world are you living in? I don't think this is proper procedural rules.
Well, see, in Michigan he would understand, but now he's somewhere else, and he was Mexican for a while, and then he went to Sweden, and he's all over the place. I love him. He's such a hoot, man. He really is.
Check it out. Look at this here. MLS Law. Look at that. I am the official media.
Oh wow!
MLS Law show for the suitcase murder trial, Sarah Boone. We'll see if it works out. I mean, it may not work out, but
that'd be awesome.
Even though he thinks he's adversarial, we know the truth. He knows who's his buddy. He knows who's his buddy.
He's figured it out that just people are just people. At the end of the day, you just talk to them, it solves like 99% of everything. I have a friend of mine who was, he's a Las Vegas police officer, and is a negotiator, was trained by the FBI. He said, when you have somebody in like a hostage type situation, not a hostage, but like they barricade them into a place, whatever. He said, 99% of it is they just want to talk. And then when they get done giving their rant is when you say to them, okay, how can we get you out of there, bud? And it's just that seems like that's making Michigan laws simple.
Well, MLS law.
We're gonna have it all screwed up.
With his identity crisis, he doesn't know what to do as a prosecutor. I'm not going to help him out. I'm just a defense attorney. In fact, delay aids the defense. So I'm perfectly happy just letting things ride. There's been no information filed. My client is not guilty, and obviously he's got problems bringing charges. And, he needs to know that my client is not guilty. And, he's going to have an uphill battle on anything he tries to prove. So he wants to charge my buddy Flux with murder of her little dog, Jeff. And I don't think that that's I don't think that that's ever going to fly. So we'll see. Bring it on. But I will say that, remember, you are facing an adversarial, disagreeable person that will make your life very busy and difficult. So I would just suggest a no information. Maybe we can work it out with a deferred prosecution agreement that that Flux can sign an agreement where we will make it go away. We'll do some super chats to MLS the Law Channel, 6 months of no more killing of Minecraft pets, and she'll be let off. I think that's probably a reasonable resolution of the thing. Then you can preserve any more of her pets, will not be jumping off cliffs, and we'll send a couple super chats the way of the prosecutor, make it all go away. Nobody's none the worse for wear. That's my point.
Hey Steve, I know this is off subject, but would you describe a little bit of prepare, how you would describe it?
Come on,
or how you would, That's what we were talking about before you came on.
No,
I put a link.
That's why my ears were burning. I'm like sitting there listening. You're talking about me. I'm like, well, although if somebody asked, let me ask you before I do that, Danielle. Do you think it would be good for a 13-year-old?
I recommended it to my son to read, and he's 14. Yeah, I do. I think it's
read it.
Really, if Valhalla read it, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a life guide. I mean, it is. It's and
it's good for like a young man.
Well, and
like my.
Yeah, I mean, and men need direction. as boys need direction. And
they're very impressionable, yeah.
And having a little guidebook for life, I don't think could harm. I kind of my only hesitancy. Well, I've got a couple hesitancies. The first is the lead up, the first part of it, where I start I'm talking law. It starts out kind of as a law book, right?
Yeah.
Because there's really multiple parts of the book. And the first thing is I have a friend in my office, and I'm pretty conservative, as you know, and he's like, well, are you an originalist? He kept saying it. And I was like, that's the governing. So I'm like, I don't know if I am or not. I mean, I'm not sure. What is originalism, and am I that? And I went down this rabbit hole to answer that question, and I'm like, I don't know. Good question, right? I don't. So I started digging and digging and digging like a little rodent going into a burrow. And I came out the other end and said, well, originalism is necessary but not sufficient. And because I've got really kind of truth and freedom are really two of my driving philosophies, I'd say, core foundational values. And when I got to the end of it, I'm like, if this debate continues between the left and the right, either path leads inevitably towards tyranny and the destruction of individual freedom. And so then I said, okay, and ideas and answers, as you know, it's easy to criticize. Whenever I criticize, I want to make sure I have a backup answer. And so I'm like, well, what is the conception that you're so smart, Ghazni? What's your brilliant conception? So I thought about it, and I came up, and that's where this little symbol here is a little reminder. The whole idea is that the book cover will remind you about the content. So this is a Maslow hierarchy of needs. This is, Christian faith is a part of it. This is a path, a golden path over time, beginning with life and ending with your death, and it's on you as an individual. So the concept is this: a way to visualize an individual is a Maslow hierarchy of needs traveling of an arc over time of life. And let me show you another little illustration here. And so then also there's this idea. So you have a birth and your death, and then you have a line in which you cross into consciousness from childhood unconsciousness into some point in which you're an adult and you actually have control of your life. And then maybe if you live a long, full life, you pass into senility and you pass away. So this Maslow hierarchy of needs crosses this arc over time, right? And this gray area is the portion in which you are free and actually free as an individual. So I came up with this concept. Well, it's not really a legal concept. It's kind of more of a self-conception concept. And so then what I did is, all right, that's the first 6 chapters of the book, is kind of talking about that. And then I'm like, all right, well, now what am I going to do with it? It was not a law question. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe that's for future exploration. But I'm like, all right, well, what I want to do is apply that to yourself, make it like a self-assessment, and talk about prepper ideas, about the first 2 things, about preparing yourself, making sure you got your home's paid off, and you've got food, you've got water, and you got a gun, and you got all that stuff. There's that portion, right? But then I have some ideas on that. I'm no brilliant man on that. But then the next portion is the top part of the pyramid, which is self-actualization. And that's where I get into the chapters on faith, family, and friends, and community, and things that make our lives worth living more than just surviving. Mm-hmm. So then, and each one, it talks through these things. And the faith chapters, of all the things, I'm very happy with the first 6 chapters, the conceptualization of the thing, and the 2 faith chapters are the ones that are closest to my heart. And then I get into the next portion of the book. Okay, you got that. Then there's part of like fears about individual tyranny from the government and from within, and all the things that could happen. And then a call for action to how to deal with that by speaking the truth and self-assessing. So that's really what the book is. It's the most important book. This is the book I've always wanted to write, which is sort of my personal philosophy. And as Daniel was talking about Branko, and he gets me on, he's like, just write a book. We've got all these law reviews, right? So get it out there, right? And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I wrote that one because that was all a bunch of writings I already done that was very law oriented. But this is the book I've always wanted to write. And I've actually got some revisions I'm working on, little things, but adding like talking with people and thinking about it and having it written down, freshening it up, putting in a few extra ideas that aren't in here. But I only got a few more of these left before I send them on. But yeah, this one, this is the one I really want people to read, because I want my friends and the people that I love to read. And like Danielle has taken it. She's got her dog-eared and little things. And I think I'm so flattered by that. That is
I take it very seriously. It's very important to me. Love it.
Let me ask you real quick on that. So you were talking about community and like religion and the people around you. Besides your basic survival needs, but like the community aspect. So doing the tubes, right? I continue to hear people say, I don't like people. And one day that hit me. I was like, because it's a lazy thing for me to say. And one day it hit me. I was like, I love people though. I mean, I absolutely do. If you're a passionate person, I don't care what you're passionate about, I'm drawn to that. And it scares me when people say I don't like people though, and I can't figure out quite why that bothers me.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I think that people don't realize that I'm really an introvert, which is funny. Everybody laughs at that, and I'm also extremely disagreeable. I'm so disagreeable. I'm like in the top 0.1% of disagreeable people. Now,
oh, that's awesome. I'm just a little bit higher than you if you ask my wife.
But I mean, a lot of the agreeableness that people perceive is through learning. It's self-discipline and conscious choice and training of habit to learn because politeness and kindness are decisions that you make and conscious choices that you make in everything that you do at all times. So I really have to be careful of my disagreeableness, because I'll disagree just to disagree. And I know that that's not exactly a way to get into your friendships. And so what was the initial question? About not liking people.
Yeah, well, because so many people said they don't like people, but you said that the community is such an important part.
Well, one of the things is I like people who are honest. And that's one thing I love about Andrew Branca, is that he is deadly honest, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't care what you think. He's going to say what he thinks. Well, he is honest as the day is long. Now, honesty, people say, well, agreeing with me means you're honest. No, agreeing with me does not mean you're honest. Being true to yourself is what makes you honest. Making sure that you're looking within yourself and saying, am I being true to myself? Do I know who I am? Am I making choices? Am I consciously making the choices that I have within my life? Am I choosing that? And then am I taking that internal self and projecting it into the world honestly? So there's no difference between what's inside and out. Now, we all have good and evil within us. And that's real important. Part of this is introspection, because you've got to look inside and say, okay, I understand that I want to kill that person, or I want to hate, you want to do these things. All right, well, I recognize that's part of me. That's what there's this thing, but I'm going to choose this. And that's my choice. That's where my individual stand comes in. And then am I projecting that into the world? Am I being honest with the world? And that also doesn't mean just saying stuff that's true to hurt people. I mean, there's, that's a balance too. I think I talk about honesty is very, very important. And that's something we all need to work on. And so the people that I don't like, I really dislike, what is it? Dishonesty, I guess that's the way, or lack of genuineness, or somebody who puts on a face.
And for whoever they're around, right? I mean, I say that because that's my problem. Like, I do not like when you see somebody and they will change according to how the new person in the crowd is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's a difficult thing, because we are masters at deception. Human beings are very good at lying, and they're very good at lying to themselves.
Yep.
So it's a double hint. We really need to work hard because there's so much lies in our culture. We're just drowning in lies. And we got to start with ourselves, look in the mirror, assess yourself. And then once you understand the truth within yourself, you will have an anchor for which you can perceive the world. And you will then perceive the lies that are drowning around us in the world. And then, so don't repeat those things. Don't internalize them. Reject those lies, and then speak truth to the world. And that's how we need to build. I mean, this is why this book is important, and what I'm trying to get across to people, because that's how we make the world better. That's how we fight against tyranny.
Let me ask you. You said politeness a couple times. Where does mannerism come in there? Do you think manners, like, okay, you mentioned politeness. You have to be polite,
right?
But where do manners come in? Do you see them as different things or the same thing?
That's a good question, Danielle. What do you think?
I agree. It's a good question. I don't know. When I think of manners, I just think of respect. Like, what was the question that what did you just ask, expert?
Well, he mentioned politeness several times, and so my question is, where do manners come in? So
here's a funny reflection. Go ahead, Daniel.
Like, it's something just rooted in you. Like, I come from a real Southern background. Like, I was taught, certain manners, please and thank you, just the basic, golden rule kind of thing. And then I was raised, to be honest and stuff like that, which of course, we're not always 100% honest, which is whatever anyways, but the manners come in, I still say please and thank you. And I think that just comes with, I think it does have a lot to do with kindness, especially if you're being genuine when you are using your manners, and you're consistent with it.
Well, maybe manners let's define that, are more formalized societal rules for behavior, right? Whereas what would be the manners versus what?
Politeness.
Whereas politeness, I'd say, is be honest with yourself to know when you are trying to harm another.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bless your little heart. Right? We're Southerners, right? We know what that means.
Yeah.
And whereas and this is an odd connection, but we're watching a lot of this Project Runway. My wife and I have been diving deep in Project Runway.
I love that you guys watch that.
Yeah, well, it's so not what I would watch. But my wife
is that the guy who says make it work.
Make it work. Well, he's that guy. Okay, so that's exactly who I'm talking about. Gunn.
My wife loves it. Yes,
Tim Gunn.
Yes,
he's a really good example of somebody. See, all the gays on that show are so nuts and out of control in creativity, right? And they're bitching at each other and they're tearing each other like this. And he comes in and he's like their mentor, and he's a hero because he's the gay guy who's got his self-discipline together. He's got his act together. He's always looking out. He wants the best out of the people, the creators in the show. And he tells them the truth on their style. He's like, I don't like this. But he's always kind and respectful. And he's one thing I've been noticing is he's extremely self-disciplined. So he is put together and he chooses to be who he is. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of people think, well, I'm not being honest unless I let my emotions run wild. And then I'm true to myself because I'm just letting my crazy emotions go wild. And then I'm just putting it out. Self-discipline is extremely important for being kind, and for kindness and for manners. And that he's a good example because he gets emotional. And he says people, designers, no, your design isn't working here. You need to work that out. And I don't like what you're doing here. And, you're being lazy. Get it together. He can be really tough, but he always does it from a position of kindness and respect. And he's somebody, he's kind of the hero of the gay designer, right? Because he's like a model. He's a model of how you should conduct yourself. And so I don't know, this sort of
leading by example. Yeah.
Leading by example. What does the White Rabbit say about that?
I don't know. She's not in the chat. She's asleep. She's had a big day. How was it you were saying?
Well, and see, this is now, our culture says be wild, Play
wild,
your
yeah, that's right.
emotions. Let your emotions just run wild. And whatever you are, you're being true to yourself by just mouthing off and being self-centered. You see, and that is you need to, there's humility there and there's self-discipline. These are required elements for your persona because that's just your reptile brain being unleashed. That is a devolution of our society. That is not raising yourself up to being something better.
This the uncaged wildness, or however, what you speak of. That's something that I see, unfortunately, a lot when people talk about the First Amendment.
Right.
And they like to talk about, like, I can say what I want to, anywhere I want to. And what that means to me is that they can just be lazy with their speech. I know that when
Did you watch my stream on that? Is that what you're picking
I
up
haven't
on?
seen it, no.
Oh, well, I did a whole stream on this about views of the First Amendment. What was it called? It was about, it
I
might have
gotta
been
get
the
over
one,
Rumble, Donna.
huh? It was
I
the
need to
one
go over
I did. I
Rumble.
just did. It was Rumble only.
Okay.
Because it was talking about, can we talk about certain topics and what is the First Amendment for? Because we always, as lawyers, we're always dealing with the fringe cases of like, Al Qaeda training manuals, or child porn, or
Yes.
smut, or commercial speech, and all these things that are on this end, right? But then what I did is I flipped that and said, okay, well, let's look at the First Amendment from this end. Like, why is it there? What is the actual purpose of it? It's not really to defend the pornographer or the commercial person or Morgan & Morgan being able to talk about how they're going to win your case. It's instead about political dialogue and a marketplace of ideas and creating a free exchange of ideas and an honest exchange of ideas. That's the ideal. Libelous speech is allowed, but that's not the ideal. The ideal is to have a free marketplace of political speech so that we can have error correction in our society. We can make each other better. We can lift each other up. So
You actually you took that a step further, and because now whether you realize it or not, you turn the tables on me, because that is something for me. I think that free speech, because I understand the concept of it being a limitation on the government. However, I have a theory that free speech is something uniquely American, and then we fight for it like in public. I mean, it's like it's my freedom of speech. All this stuff. If you remember, there was like a fallout. Who was the band? Like the Dixie Chicks or something like that, and they started doing free speech, free speech. Well, that is great, and I'm sure that they believe that. Of course, it's not the legal sense of it, but for Americans, we have a I don't know, a distinct relationship with it that other countries don't
it originally,
have.
it originates out of Old England, right, in the common law, and it really arose from political speech in the Houses of Parliament. So if you go back to Magna Carta, and then a lot of the English common law was developed by a fellow named Sir Edward Coke. And if you haven't read my book, you just turn this off for a second, expert. I'll make a book recommendation for people who are real law nerds. You're like, I don't want to read death penalty debates. It's too hard.
No. I didn't say it was too hard. I said the way my mind works is that you keep sending me through. Like I go through one page, and I bet you have gone through 30 pages of my own individual research on topics that have nothing to do with the overall scope of the book.
That's good. That's called inspiration. I'm proud.
It is an incredible inspiration.
There's a book called The Lion and the Throne, written by Catherine Drinker. I think of Bowen, something like that. Catherine, and she wrote the book called The Lion and the Throne, which is a very hard read, but it's an excellent account of Sir Edward Coke and the court, and a lot of his arguments that he made to Parliament. He was the author of the Petition of Right back in Old England during the English Civil War, and he was such an advocate. A lot of his advocates developed into what we now know as the Bill of Rights. There's a long history of that. That's another whole class that I'd like to teach someday. I actually took a class on English constitutional theory back at Trinity College, Cambridge, way back in law school days. And I'd love to explore that topic deeper. It's one of those endless rabbit holes you can get into. The point is that the free speech idea has roots in Old England, but I would also say it has roots in Christianity, because the Christian God wants you to choose him freely. And most other gods are not that way. Most other gods where you obey and it's sword driven, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the Christian God wants you to,
Free
choose
will.
freely. So freedom, and this is something I discovered with writing Prepare and my faith, a Christian mindset is essential for individual freedom. And I hadn't realized that until I actually wrote this book. I thought, okay, this is part of it, and this is what I want. I want to be free so that I can practice my faith. But I also
Do
found
you
that,
have a chapter of that in your book?
yes.
Okay, good. All right, because my question was, I was going to say, I agree with you. I think that it's amazing, and that's a conclusion I came to a few years ago with how much, and I hate to say it because here I am, I'm Catholic. It's the Protestant work ethic drove this country in the early days, and it's very respectful. It's unbelievable. So anyway, he's kind of came from that was where my ideas of like, oh, wait a second, like really, honestly, there's not a problem. Christian values, it's not bad. People want to strike them down. I think they want to strike down. It's a bigger picture. It's a political thing. Like how you started off saying that each party is going to go to its own form of tyranny. I agree with that too, by the way. And remember, I was a political guy before I went to law
I know.
school. So yeah, that really struck for me. I was
Well,
like,
that's my
man.
biggest criticism of DeSantis. Well, besides the death penalty position, my other major DeSantis criticism is that it's like he's very much an insider, and he wants his team. And so it's like, you're against their team. Well, I'm going to trade that team for your team. And it's just a bunch of insiders, and he's pointing all his buddies and all the rich fat cats, and it's just another insider group. And that's not what I mean, although I'm going to support him. I'm 75% for DeSantis, and as a governor, I very much disagree with him on the death penalty, and he's made that a party platform item for him. He's aggressively
It is a party platform, and I've said a lot of things that are not very agreeable with a lot of people in my party, and one of them was having to do about abortion. I was like, I realized that one day I was like, Republicans aren't for getting rid of abortion because as soon as they do, they lose the right to lifers. They're a very passionate group. They're single issue. And if you look at every other issue they're for, they're not very conservative. And so if you lose that base, they're not going to be out there making the phone calls for you, knocking on doors or anything else. You're going to have problems getting elected. And, the death penalty, I think, is where they're trying to make that the next hard issue. We're going to make this hard stance. So you have that social conservative platform.
Because these are all issues that the party elites have identified divide people. And when issues divide people, that gives the elites power. And so my counter to that is to talk amongst people that we disagree honestly and fairly, and see that we're people and that we have disagreements, and it's not the be all end all, that there are greater issues such as corruption and power politics. We need to get together as people and not let the politicians and the media and everybody else divide us amongst these issues, because they find those issues. They're very good at finding those issues that divide people up. What happens is when, like, okay, you're my enemy because I disagree with you about the death penalty. So you're on the other side of the aisle, right? And then I can't even talk to you now. Now, who do I talk to? I talk to all my party leaders who are like, we got to win. We got to defeat them. And I will say, like, we just had a death penalty conference, and it was the best death penalty conference I've been to, and I've been to many of them.
I didn't even know that was a thing. So,
well, we public defenders. I'm writing this thing, but I'm up the tip of the spear. There's a whole bunch of people that work on this within, that are death penalty people that are working together, right? And I'm very conservative, but I will tell you that is a very left-wing group. And I've been turned off from a lot of these death penalty conferences I go to because they come in there and they're just basically, they put up a picture of Trump or DeSantis and it's like the enemy and everybody laughs and whoos and haws. And it's like, you're kicking me out of your thing when we have common cause here. Are you are you against the death penalty, or do you want to achieve? Are you using the death penalty to achieve your political points? And to me, when you put your politics ahead of the issue, you're losing allies. I'm very conservative, and I have very strong opinions about the death penalty, and I have good arguments. And when I'm arguing to a conservative court, I think that at least my arguments ought to be listened to. But they don't even want to hear it because they want to win on their grounds. They want to win because they're right, rather than winning to strike down the death penalty because that's the right thing to do. I mean, does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I want to ask you something about that because this is the most scary question I've ever asked. Okay, and the reason why it's scary is because I don't have an answer. And how do you see where? Obviously, like you're saying, you're at the death penalty conference. They put up a picture of Trump or DeSantis, and they're trying to get that energy. To me, it's that college football type. I'm going to root for my team. That's the enemy. We got to pick a side. We got to draw lines. It's like a lot of people in the Civil War don't even know why they're fighting. It's something we're just doing because they're here. Whatever it is, whatever they've decided that divisive issue is. How do you make people? How do you not make them? How do you show people that they're being played as pawns? And then by showing them, though, they accept it and they're willing to change and not be a pawn anymore.
These are very difficult questions.
Sorry, man.
Want to help out here?
Sorry. Dude, I am full octane right now, using up every gallon I've got trying to keep up with you. So
no. Well, I would think there's some things that you don't do, and that is that you don't engage in ad hominem attacks on your opponent. You always seek the truth in your arguments, acknowledge weaknesses in your own arguments, and expect the same of your opponent. So if you're debating something, I actually had rules because I used to be on the radio. I used to do the Mark Bernier show, which was a radio show that was after the Rush Limbaugh show. And I used to go on Mark Bernier's show all the time. I was his resident, foil, and we'd go on for like 3 hours and talk about the stuff. And I had rules for engaging with callers because we'd get call-ins, right? And that is if they're just trying to attack you and put you in a box and ad hominem, that is really not a person that you're going to engage with. The only reason that you would do that would be to tell other people. You're not going to convince that person of anything, right? So don't engage in ad hominem. Expect truth. Expect that your opponent that you're debating with believes that there is a truth that you can seek and that we can improve, and that the arc should be going towards truth. And what I mean by that is there's this idea that permeated our society of relativism, moral relativism, and there's no absolutes and there's no absolute truth, and they have no foundation. And also get them to commit their skin in the game. What are we talking about? Are you just here to attack my position, or do you have something that your position? Do you have an opposing position? Do you have some other way? And let's also look down and let's drill down. I have great discussions with a lot of really good people. Like I said, this book got started by the guy saying, "Are you an originalist?" And I'm like, I don't know. Now, it'd be easy for me to say, well, my team is originalism all the way, strict construction. Yes, go. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I know that's what my team thinks, but we got to talk about truth. Is that the truth? I don't even know what we're talking about. So I had to really amp up my game and acknowledge that. And so anyways, I'm just talking around the issue. And there is a whole exploration and prepare too about understanding truth, because conservatives get defeated on that point a lot. And I'm really happy with that framework. That is that if you remember this part, Danielle, about we're at least 7 levels away from absolute truth. Mm. And I go through the levels of why we are separated from truth. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means that we can't fully capture it here on earth. Just like there's good and evil. There is absolute good, there is absolute evil, but we can't touch it in this world. It is existential. It's greater than us. But we're separated by it, by a number of things. And I go through that in the book about our embodiment, our short life, our senses, the fact that our minds are limited, the fact that we can't touch greater than us. There is an absolute truth, there is a good and evil, but it's out of our touch. And so if you understand that going into the debate, that I'm not going to achieve absolute truth, but we can better it, we can arc things towards truth, and we agree that there is a truth out there, you're going to have a much more productive conversation. If somebody says there is no absolute truth and it's just a political warfare about power, then that person is not going to be talked to. But maybe you can talk about the issue about truth, right? Maybe get it back to those fundamentals, because that's where we're disagreeing.
Yeah, the problem with debate though is you have to have like people like us. I think you and I would have a fun time, going back and forth on something. But if you look at debate as a modern term, it's gone. Trump showed that in
And I agree. Our
presidential
political
election.
system is very dysfunctional, but it's a reflection of us as a society. Our society
It
is
is.
dysfunctional.
You're right.
Institutions have been corrupted, and a lot of it, I believe it comes back to a loss of faith, and people have misplaced their faith because people have faith. It's not a loss of faith. It's a misplacement of faith into institutions that don't deserve it. Right? People are there, and there's a whole part about idolatry in there. Remember that, Daniel, about all the places that people put their faith that they shouldn't. That's not worthy. I know where my irrationality lies. I know where my faith resides. I know the leap of faith that I've made, and I've built my truths off of that stone, off of that rock. Most people say, "Oh, I don't believe any of that bunk." Well, where's your moral system coming from? Where have you built your moral system on? What rock have you built it on? And they find out it's really just a bunch of quicksand. They've built it on government or power or self or ego.
Yeah.
There's a million idols out there. Gia, worship of nature, paganism. It's all these, it's de-evolution of society. It's a regression from the truth. So and I talk about that also in Prepare. I want you to read Prepare.
I know. I'm gonna have to. I can't ask any more questions. And I just realized because the next thing when you, I don't know, there's something you just said, and I was like, oh well, I was gonna ask about that here. I was gonna be like, did you ever study like stuff like Taoism or Buddhism, stuff like that? Because I don't know, you said a couple of things that made me kind of think of that, and I was like, no, I don't need to do any of that. I need to read the book. That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to talk more about that. I've got to get this book. I think I may have it actually. What is it? Because you got me ordering books, Steve.
Just
yeah, he orders
Listen, my wife's like, you've never gotten a book since we've been together. Why do you have all? What's going on here? I was like,
you said so.
Told me. Yeah. I was like,
I do
like,
the same.
you really like it. Steve, why do you think you have such a magnetic personality?
That's so ridiculous. I don't have a. Hold on a second.
Okay, well, you gave a compliment about Bronca earlier. I mean, if you draw him, I mean that guy, he's scary. And yeah. So if you can bring him in, you were out on the Sunset Strip playing rock and roll. You go into mosh pits. I think you got a magnetic personality. I think people like you.
So funny because that is just absolutely contradicts my entire life history is contradicted by that statement. But I respect that that's what people think of me, and I think that I'm okay. I mean, I've worked very hard to try to be that. But I'm not the be all end all. I mean, come on. I've grown.
Me and expert disagree.
What?
we would disagree. We think you
disagree. Right?
Yeah, we talk about you a lot. Sorry.
Well,
in good ways,
I'm very flattered, and I will say that I have got such good PR. Why is my post not going through? Comment field to post to the expert. This is live. Winning Reality. Send me an email at my stevegosney.com, and I will talk.
Oh, you know what? It's
not.
I just realized. I think StreamYards has shorted out.
Really? Are we still live? See, we're just talking.
Yeah, we
away.
are. Oh yeah, we're live, but it's StreamYards isn't updating.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's look and I'll pull you up on here we are, expert. Can let me chat over here.
Yeah.
Hey. All right, yeah, okay, it works over there. So I guess we're still live. Oh, it looks frozen. No, it's good. Okay. All right.
It's the
Good.
East Coast on Monday
It's
night.
something. I don't know. Something still with StreamYard. Anyways, the point is where were we going? Oh, why am I so charming and magnetic?
Yes,
That's
it's your
ridiculous.
animal magnetism.
That's
Tell
so
your wife.
ridiculous, David.
Go tell your wife,
It's
like,
not
I
true at all.
got called for having animal magnetism tonight.
Well, I mean, I am so blessed that the chat is always so nice to me, and they're always so. But I mean, it's so divorced from my reality of my life. I mean, I am not. I have been an outsider's out. I'm outsiders to the outsiders. And all I can say is that I've worked very hard my whole life to develop my philosophy and improve myself and to try to be but I don't think that I'm cool at all. I mean, I want to live life. I want to experience life. I want to do all kinds of things. I mean, I want to get in the mosh pit. I want to play a guitar. I want to write a book. I want to write a fantasy novel. I want to meet my friends. I want to go over here, go to travel. It's like life is to be lived and celebrated. I don't think that I don't even know how to respond to that. It's so different from. You read The Summer Friend. Did you read The Summer Friend?
I just
I
got
was
it.
not the cool kid, I was like the kid.
Listen,
that was not cool. I'm the kid that the cool kids like. They'd hang out with me, but then like when they get back in school, it's like, oh, don't hang out with Gosney. He's not one of the cool kids, right? So then that was the whole basis of The Summer Friend.
I understand the basis of it. But it's okay. So you said something, you want to experience everything. I love that. I love that passion. I cheated death once, and I was very excited when I did, and I realized I was like, I'm here for a reason. And the thing that scares me, and to this day, like I hate sleeping. When I do sleep, I have bad nightmares. And what I'm terrified of, and it just goes back to faith, is that I'm here for a reason now, and I don't know what it is. And that's what terrifies me is what if I go through the rest of my life and I do not realize what I was saved for? And that's why I like to do everything. Like I want to touch everything. I want the pandemic was horrible for me, it's because I'm an outside guy. I'm a personality person. I love people, and but because you never know. I mean, look at you. I mean, look how you affected Danielle's life so much that she came in. She never had talked live before, and she said, "Hey, expert, I really want you to get together with Steve Gosney." I'm like, "Okay, I'll talk to anybody. Who's Steve Gosney?" And then look at us now. It's I don't know. It's there's a passion, and I think that's I don't know.
Well, I don't. It's kind of a weird topic, but I will say that I thank everybody and people that listen is great. I mean, I want people to listen. Hey, Danielle.
She left.
No, I'm here.
Okay, we're here for you. Well, and it's meeting new people and meeting people online, and I gotta say, see, Danielle, she honors me with this whole mentor relationship because I will say that finding your life's purpose is very important, especially for a man. And I will say that when I had my son, that really, my mission in life became to be the best dad that I can possibly be. And to give him, and I really wanted to cut off the baggage that I had from my dad and the damage, the harm that he had done to me, and not like physical, but psychological, and the baggage that he'd given me was a lot. I mean, I had to deal with a lot. I was raised by my mom. He left. I don't even remember when they were together. Right. So I was really a single parent household the whole time. And I mean, it's like, it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. It's just like, that's what it is. But I mean, I struggled. I mean, I wasn't a great student in high school or junior high, and struggled in college even. It was always a gradual fighting to get through that. And when I had my son, I was like, okay, I'm going to cut this off. I don't want to pass that on. I love this kid so much, right?
Mhm.
I don't want this to be passed on to the next generation. And that gave
Yeah.
me purpose. Well, of course, now he's doing great. He's a sophomore at Embry-Riddle. He's in calculus 3,
Oh, jeez.
and he's
Yeah.
crushing it. And he's got it together. He's very confident. Danielle met him. You know, he's a confident kid, right?
Yeah, he's cool.
And not like me. I mean, I was not confident like that. And he's very, you know, yeah, you know, he knows
He's not cocky though.
No.
He's not. He doesn't have like that cockiness to him. He's confident. Yeah, for sure.
confident. But he's a character. I love being every minute I spend with him. I just love, and he's just a great to be around.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But also, then of course I have this radio program. So part of it is now is like I want to expand that a little bit and share that with the world. There's a lot of need for that healing in the world. And being like I train all the attorneys in our appellate division, and I also mentor other attorneys. Like I have attorneys that come into our office trial attorneys that will ask me to be their mentor. I've had several that have asked me specifically, and I'll train the trial division, and I give continuing ed, and I mentor even within our capital trial team. I'm part of that team, even though I don't necessarily go into court. I'm an advisor to that team, but I like making people around me better. So I don't really even want to be the lead dog. I want to be the guy that makes everybody better and makes us better as a team and gets the best out of everybody. So, and that is like kind of my new mission. And then also experiencing life, like writing my fantasy novel. I've always wanted to write a fantasy novel, and I've got the artist picked out. I can't wait to do a cover and have a book in my hand. I love that. I put out my CD, you know, when I was in college. I always wanted to have my own CD and my music, and you know, I want to do everything. I want to do everything all the time. You know, that's part of the problem is I'm very good at a lot of things and not great at any one thing. And so it's hard for me to focus on like, okay, what am I going to do? Do I write? Do I stream? Do I play my guitar? Do I work on recording music? Or, you know, what do I want to do? Now I've been doing a lot of writing. It's just, and I'm teaching these classes like American law courses. I'm teaching criminal procedure every Wednesday night. And I'm mentoring people, like I'm kicking Chandler, I'm working with her, and we're going to get her into law school. And I want to write a law review article because I'm going to keep writing some law review articles. And she's going to help me. And then she can be on the subhead. And that's a great resume builder for her when she goes to law school. And then you never know, you know, it's like planting seeds. The Christian faith has the thing about spreading seeds. And that's what you always have to do. At all moments, I expect the best out of people. And sometimes those seeds fall on rocks and it doesn't take. And sometimes it falls and it withers, right? But every once in a while, it'll fall in that soil and it will bloom. And then you get Danielle here, you know, like Danielle, to me, well, you're one of my little successful seeds. It's like you spread it out, and she was open to it and was listening, and it fell into something that she needed at the time in her life. Mm-hmm. And what greater honor. I mean, that to me is the best thing in the world. I love that. And I get a lot of really positive feedback, and it's humbling, but it's also fulfilling for me. Does that help? Does that help explain a little bit?
I think in the last few words you used there, at least for me, it explains you, and it's humbling and self-fulfilling. And I think that's something that if you can achieve that, you've achieved greatness. Because imagine if everybody was fulfilled by being humble. We'd be in a much nicer world. Sure. We wouldn't have horns on our cars.
We're all weak and we're all flawed and we're all damaged. And but you know, if we work to make each other better and lift each other up and make each other better by our existence and our presence with each other, then that's what's going to lift the world. You know, everybody that's self-centeredness and I'm going to be the biggest thing. You know, look, we got the arc of life and we all die. Then at the end of that, what he's like, people are going to say, you know, he was a really hard-working lawyer. It's like, is that a great? Well, actually, I'll tell you, that was my dad's eulogy. My dad's funeral. I didn't even cry at my dad's funeral. I will tell you, I almost felt nothing. I hate to say that, but
relief.
It was a relief.
Yeah.
My dad's funeral was a relief because I didn't have to deal with him anymore. And I remember because there were 5 judges that came out of his law firm. So he hired 5 people out of law school that ended up becoming judges in our area. And they had a big debate about what they would say at his funeral, because it's like, well, I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag. It's like, I mean, that's pretty awesome. This man has hired these people and they all became judges. But on the other hand, it's like there's this whole other side, right? And I remember it was so empty. It was basically like, now you think in your head, it was like a standard issue funeral. You think in your head, what kind of person, do you admire? Well, you need to take that and be just like that. I mean, it was very like standard issue. It was like, what? There was no picture. I mean, it was so bad. It was so bad. I will say it was a painful funeral to go to, because what do you say to somebody? Like, well, he was estranged from his sons. What good did he do for his family? What did he leave? What legacy did he leave to the world except his own ego and his own selfishness, which is nothing. You're nothing. We're dirt.
Man.
Yeah.
So, but if we can raise each other up and make the world a more honest place, a truthful place, some place that's worth living, and we have some happiness, we've accomplished something, we've passed something on, we've left kids that are happy and healthy and free, and we've left a society a little better place. Like, that's my whole thing about DeSantis. Here's a little interlude. Okay, so you win the game, and you've got the death penalty. You get Supreme Court justices who approve your views, and the death penalty gets spread throughout the land. Have you made the place a better place? Have you made this country a better place? Or is it just more coarse? Have we lowered our debate? Have we lowered ourselves? We really haven't accomplished anything. Crime still will exist. It won't solve crime. Crime's a separate problem. I agree. We've got big crime problems. But expanding the death penalty isn't going to solve it. It's just going to cause more deaths. The alternative is locking them up in prison for the rest of their life. Okay, that works. It's how many people are on the death row compared to how many people are life in prison? It's a drop in the bucket. We've only got 300 people on death row. There's like 30,000 people in life.
Like 11 were terminated last year. Is that right? What it is? It's something unbelievably low. I was shocked with how low it was.
Which is just it's sort of a. I'm just saying that we have a lot of people. The number of people life in prison is obnoxious, but it's a reflection of our crime, right? But if you went and killed everybody on death row right now today, would the world also be better?
2,000 people, isn't it?
Well, it's 300 people on Florida's death row.
Oh.
Which is, with those people are sitting there rotting away. We go and kill them all. Okay, now the world's better. Are people really learning a lesson? Or are we really going to say, oh, you know what? No, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't. It's a distraction. It's a divisive issue that distracts from the real problem of crime, which comes from families and broken society and truth and all of the issues that I'm talking about in Prepare. That's where the source of our dysfunction is. And these are easy solutions the politicians want to foist on us that distract us from having to deal with real issues.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's funny because something you said real quick about death penalty. I remember when I was in college, somebody was sentenced to death or put to death, and they described like what they were, the crime that they were put to death for. And I was like, wait a second, I know that area. It was in where I was going to college at. And I was like, that area doesn't exist anymore. There's no park there. There's none of this. There's none of that. I was like, it just got me like how like different everything is because it was like 30 years apart. And I guess maybe that's like one of my first thoughts of like how the death penalty is. I just don't see it as a deterrent.
Right. Well, it can be, and we talk about this in death penalty debates.
I know. I've read the thing. I'm just saying that it is so exciting for me as a nerd. I sit there and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I bet you I could right now. I bet you I could find one sentence where you wrote something about the death penalty, and I could apply it to squirrels getting chestnuts. I mean, it is unbelievable. That's what I'm saying. It's your book speaks to the way my mind works. And in a good way, though, not in the crazy squirrel way, but in the like, I got excited thinking, oh wow, I'm actually reading intelligent stuff. Look at Miami Spice. She's still here. She's been with me since the beginning. She's amazing. She told me after I talked to you, she said, "Boy, you really enjoyed working your actual brain for a change, didn't you?" I was like, "It was unbelievable." So anyway, I'm sorry. But yeah, death penalty debate. You're saying that one of the things is about the change of society and everything. It's like 30
Right. Well,
years.
this is, I mean, death penalty base. I wrote that because everybody asked me that because of my job, and I know a lot about it, and I have a lot of. I've really had. Actually, it was a kind of a clearing of the throat for my next death penalty case because I separate the public policy question out from the legal questions. So this is actually a two-parter. I have another book that I'm working on called Death Penalty Designs, which is okay. So you want a death penalty, Deacon. Here's some issues you got to deal with, right? And it's basically a manual, a how-to manual in the appellate division. I'm not sure if that's going to be even released to the public, but it will be a training manual for my office, and which is a lot of what Ideas and Answers in Law was. Ideas and Answers in Law were all essays and exercises in thinking to deal with questions that would come from our trial division. Our trial division would ask a question all the time, and I'm like, I don't know what's the answer to that. So, what's the so these were all like, is a BB gun. We'd have a BB gun case once every 6 months or so, and we'd have a BB gun case, and is that a deadly weapon? And so I did the deep dive on that, and that's one chapter there. The battery thing, it's just his little slight touch. It's all it takes. This is a battery. It's a crime. Just like, I had a prosecutor do that, and it's like, something's wrong with that. What's wrong with that? And that starts that little seed going of the deep rabbit hole dive, and then like all of our clients who like to say, "Oh man, you're full of it. You're just a public pretender. I'll just appeal this." And I'm like, "Well, what is your real chances on appeal?" Right? I mean, that's where what is your chance of success on appeal? Let's get to the real statistics. Let's find out the real number. Right. And so this is where, and a lot of it was my reform, my anti-PCA, my per curiam affirmed. I hate these rubber stamps that we get from our appellate court that they don't write on our issues. We have good issues and they just rubber stamp it. And it's like I was going to write it as a screed against that. But then I'm like, well, we don't really have the data. What's the number? What's the number of PCAs in our system? I want to know the hard number before I can criticize, because you might think that's fine. You might think 95% PCA rate is just perfectly fine. But if we don't agree on a number to begin with, we'll never have a debate grounded in facts. Anyway, so that's kind of what, this is how these things germinate.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love seeing how the mind works. Let me ask you real quick. It's kind of
Danielle is beautiful. Jamie knows. See?
Aww.
Yeah,
Jamie's so sweet.
She
nice smile, and you see, this is the thing. Danielle is honest, and I recognize that she's got a really great kid. By the way, your son is really cool.
He's awesome. Thank you.
My son's a very good judge of character too, and he's like a kid's a good kid, and he'll grow up and he'll do great things. And, like, what are you going to do when you grow up? I'm going to be a good person. If I'm my son, it's like, okay, I'm proud of all his accomplishments and all, and he's very smart. But if he wasn't that's what I want out of him. I want him to be a good person, somebody who's happy, lives his life, lives a free life, and is happy and is a good person and treats others well. That's a success. And so many times, I want to be a fireman. It's like, okay, that's just the. Right. I'm not dissing it, but I'm just saying that that's really not the answer to the question about what do you want to be when you grow up. I don't know. Sorry.
No, it's funny. I forgot about, my mom used to say that to me. She's like, I just want you to be happy when you grow up. I want you to be a good person and be happy. That's what I was gonna ask you is I don't know. I would like to ask you a question off screen, and so I don't want to go too far without it would ruin that opportunity. So that's I want to make sure that we're not running your time or whatnot, and then
this energizes me, and people don't realize how much energy I can go. This stimulates me, and like I told, who was it? I think I was on with I was on with Legal Mindset yesterday.
Yeah, I
and
watched
we were
part of
talking
that.
Florida Man. We were just having fun. And I
Oh,
was
it was
like,
awesome.
I had a mediation once that went for over 25 hours straight. So
Well, you didn't sleep in that
no,
time?
it was from 8:30 to 9:30 the next morning. Yeah. So
Well, Michigan's simple law he doesn't know who he's up against, does he?
yes, we have Meme Copium's in the chat.
Oh, Meme, how you doing? But by the way, Meme, that's one of the things I want to talk about. Meme sent last week. I did a trial, and which is rare for me, but I don't know, it was very interesting. And Meme was gracious enough to raid the trial a couple times, and thank you, Meme, for that. I haven't had a chance to send you a message yet. I'm still recovering from it. Sitting still for 12 hours wears me out. I was like, man, this wasn't as comfortable as the chair as I remember when I bought it.
Right. Well, and I
Meme's
actually
awesome.
watched the whole trial too, but mainly because it will probably be my case on appeal. So there's limits to what I can talk about, and I can say I'm very happy it's not a death penalty case.
Yeah.
Because I don't the less death penalty, the happier I am. I don't want more death penalty cases, but
Yeah.
but there's limits to what I can talk about with that case because of that. But
Yeah, that's why I'm not gonna ask you any questions about it or anything. It's because it's weird how people are. I'm like, I think Ghazi's in Florida or something. I'm like, guys, let's we're not gonna. I was like, there's a level of professionalism that it intertwines. Here's what. Unfortunately, one time I had a judge tell me that I should know better, and I don't ever want to hear those words again.
well, there's things we can talk about. Like, I mean, I think I know Judge Raul Zambrano, Judge Z there. He's a buddy of mine from way back. I mean, I've always respected him. He's from Panama. He has a degree from, I think, Embry-Riddle. He has an Embry-Riddle degree, which is where my son goes. He has his master's degree, I believe. He's a great judge, very nice guy. I know him from way back when I was with Landis Graham French, which was the firm I was with in DeLand, and I was thinking about going to the prosecutor's office. He was with the prosecutor's office, and he's always gave me good counseling advice, and he's been a counselor of mine. I will say somebody that I've looked up to as a judge, and somebody who's honest and fair and serious minded and intelligent. So
I loved him as a judge, especially. I mean, he was so quick when a question came or something, and he didn't even slow down to think. Like people you can see that like their eyes even just like blink once or something. No, he knew. It wasn't that he knew the answer before he said it. It's just like this is in his heart. He knows the stuff.
he's very intelligent. He commands a courtroom. He expects the best from the participants. So yes, he's a very good judge, and I like the way he runs a courtroom. He tends to be pretty pro prosecution, but not so much that it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like not so much that he can be fair. He listens to arguments. He's a former prosecutor, so he looks at it that way. But so I know the judge very well in that case, and I also know the defense team. And sadly, I know the prosecution team.
Was that guy? Because they got asked several times. Was the prosecutor? Was that a fake accent? A fake Southern accent? Okay.
No, that's the guy that fired me.
Oh.
Because
Well,
I am
we'll end it with
unreasonable.
that. But you
The story is in Prepare, right?
You're unreasonably light.
Yeah. So can you see that guy being my boss? God works in mysterious ways. See, looking back, God, was looking after me because He told me, I want you to be over here. I don't want you to be here. And I'm like, I'm a great prosecutor, right? And God was like, no, you need to listen. And I wasn't listening. I'm like, no, I want to be here. I want to be here, right? And and then he's like, I'm going to give you another hint. Then he's like, hey, here it comes. Here comes the big boot in the rear end. Boom, kicked me out. And at the time, it was the most painful thing in my life. It was very difficult. One of the most difficult things. I've never been fired anything in my whole life. I'm doing everything good. It's easy if you're doing something wrong. But if you don't think if you think you're, then you're justified. Then you get that righteous indignation, right?
Mhm.
And that's the hard thing to deal with, right? If I screwed up, that'd be one thing. But yeah, so this will give you a little insight into that story, Danielle. I don't know how much you watched that, but you can see, yeah, Foghorn Leghorn. That's the guy. He's been in there ever since.
So that's who you're talking about.
That's yeah. But
Oh,
you know, in a way,
That's a
looking
good
back,
story, though.
the hatred in my heart is dissipated.
It's gone. Yeah.
There's no hate, and you know, now I just laugh, and it's like I made the right. God looked after me. I'm in the right place.
Mhm.
You know, it's sort of like just move along. But you can put a little face. I mean, what is your reflection on that, dude? You know the story, right?
Yeah, I know the story, but I didn't watch a lot of the trial to know exactly who the guy was. So
He had his mustache looked like it was stained from a cigar. A little bit.
okay,
But I don't know.
I'll have to go back and look.
You mentioned the judge, and like I saw Miami Spice, she said love the judge. People kept saying that. How much? And this is just an opinion about all judges or the entire court system. In a case where you have in any jury trial, how important do you think the judge is?
Well, that's a very good question. I'll say that if a good judge like this, see if a prosecutor team who wants to get out of control and cheat, if you've got a good judge, the judge will put a kibosh on that. All right. So a good judge is essential for a fair trial. Now, if you've got a bad judge and a good prosecutor, they will not go there. But if you've got a bad judge and a prosecutor that's willing to cheat and they'll take it as far as they want to go, that's the real test. That's the gut check for the prosecutor, is if they can get away with it, do they do it because they can get away with it, right? They've got a bad judge. And people don't realize if you've got a bad judge and you've got a bad judge and a bad prosecutor, there's nothing a defense attorney can do. You are out of luck. And I had that. And I've seen that before. I've also seen, because you can say, okay, these prosecutors, they did well, or they did right, or they followed the law, or did whatever they're going to do, right? But how much of that is the judge? In fact, what was the case we were looking at, the Shabusiness trial?
Yeah.
That judge, great. That was an excellent judge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, the prosecutors were also good. And I grade the parties on these trials that I watch. And I graded the judge got a judge. I think I gave him an A+. I don't know I think it was 100. It might have been a 97, but I gave him top ground. But now when you've got a great judge like that, it's harder to judge the prosecution team, because are they just obeying the judge, or are they, like if they had a weak judge, would they cheat? You see, when the good judge is in there, they're going to keep him wrangled and keep the trial fair. So I don't know if this answers your question, but
no, I just was thinking like so many people talk about
prosecutor team, and I gave an A+ to, was the Daryl Brooks prosecution team, because I think that judge was weak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the guy was pro se, so he didn't even have a defense attorney. But they played fair the whole trial. And so they could have cheated. They could have played dirty. They could have gotten away with stuff because he got a weak judge and a pro se defendant, but they didn't. And to me, that is a prosecuting team that is upholding the law. They are following the correct function as a prosecutor, as opposed to just winning the game and getting my statistic and getting a feather in my cap and look how smart I am and look how great I am because I never lose a case. It's like that's did you uphold the law?
See, right before you said that, I was going to try to tell the chat, like, that's a thing that you see is it's not supposed to be a competition of like how many prosecutions I get, how many people I get put in jail. It's supposed to be upholding the law, and unfortunately, you have so many people that it's a intoxicating high to win. I think it
sort of is, but a lot of that's training, because I had a great prosecutor who trained me, and his name, Steve Nelson was his name. He was in Flagler County as a division chief. Really nice guy. And I remember when I first came to the prosecutor's office and I had a case, I forget what the case was, and I lost, right? And I get in there and And I came back and I was kind of down. I was like, oh man, I lost the case. And I remember Nelson says to me, he says, well, did you get all the evidence in that you thought you'd get in? Yeah. I said, yes, I did. And I said, and did the jury, consider it? And was there anything you didn't expect that came up from the defense side that surprised you? I was like, no. And, they heard the facts and they just went, it's like, well, you did your job. The jury made its decision. What would be failing is if I didn't get evidence in that I should have gotten in, or I got surprised because I didn't know my case. That would be a failure. Or I didn't follow up. If I cheat, that would be not following the law. Those would be ways that I would grade myself as a prosecutor. And after he said that, it was a liberating experience. And I had great support from the prosecutor, whose name was John Tanner. He was very supportive. He always said, do the right thing. And that was his test. Did you do the right thing? Was this the same deal that you'd give to any other defendant? Right? Are you playing favorites or are you playing fair? And I mean, those were the questions that he cared about. And I really appreciated that freedom. If you're a good prosecutor and you have the freedom to make judgment calls, it's a great job. If you're constrained, if you're told you must prosecute this, or you must do this, or you must do that, like, for example, you must traverse all C4 motions because we don't lose C4 motions, or something else that I was told once by certain prosecutors, you may know, is don't like I had a first-degree felony case of a kid who was 18 years old, and I found out he was a witness and not he was a witness. He wasn't, but he got charged with a first-degree felony. He's stuck in jail. And when I looked through the file and I called the police agency and I said, is this all the file? Is this, and this guy's a witness. And I dropped the case. I just flat out dropped it, null prost it, because the guy was a witness. He wasn't a defendant. Well, I got flack because it's like, well, what are you doing? First, he'd at least plead to a third-degree felony in probation. Because if you drop it, it's a bad statistic. That's a loss.
But okay, let me ask you. This goes back to the politics thing. So, fraud, waste, and abuse. Those are the famous terms for misuse of public funds. If you're saying, you're looking at going, well, this kid was a witness. He's not who we're going for. And you have, your superior saying, well, we could have at least got a third degree manslaughter or whatever. So you're talking about jail time. So now the taxpayer
probation, but by pleading to a crime, you get a statistic that says that's a win. We never lose.
But the taxpayer does.
Well, justice loses.
Yeah. The reason why I'm stuck on the taxpayer thing is because I'm sitting here thinking to myself, that seems like something that I'm surprised it's never been brought up before against like a crooked, say, prosecutor. Because let's face it, attorneys, right? No, I'm kidding. But if there's somebody doing something wrong, if you're putting people in jail just for a statistic, it seems like you're wronging the taxpayer. You're making them pay for something.
It's a betrayal of your oath as a prosecutor.
Well, yeah.
There is a prosecutorial set of ethics. One of the things that I proposed when I was a prosecutor to the incoming administration was that they adopt the National Association of District Attorneys ethical rules and apply those standards in all cases. But I'm not there. I'm a public defender now, and I'm very happy. But this is the thing. You have to. But in elections, when we have elected prosecutor, it's like, I win all my cases. We have 100% conviction rate, or whatever it is. It's sad because what happens is, I'll tell you the reality of it is that we defense attorneys, the public defender's office, it's kind of good for us from a strictly selfish matter because we'll push the cases that are weak. They've got weak cases and they can't drop them, so we beat them all the time because they're bringing stupid stuff to the juries, and then we've got great cases, which is dumb. You shouldn't give us that kind of motivation as public defenders to keep us down. But when we're winning all the time, you wouldn't believe the amount of wins we get in the public. The problem is that your chances even on a good case are 50-50. So there's a number of those people that we lose, that are unjust cases. And just because of the people, you get people bringing in the baggage and they don't see the reality of it. And so we don't want to try those cases. But as a matter of lawyering in our defensing, it's kind of good to have a prosecutor who's not in touch with that stuff, because it's like, all right, we get more wins. But that's just strictly from a gamesmanship perspective. But I think we need to look at it a little higher level, which is justice being served? And it's hard for the voters to really discern these things. Well, this guy, he wins all the time. He's the that guy never wins. They brought in the big dogs, man. He never lost a case. This kind of thing, right? It's how do you judge it? People don't understand but it goes back to that personal integrity. See, Jen with no filter, right? Personal integrity. It goes back to the values, the fundamental values of the people that are occupying the system, which is what Prepare is about, which is about spreading the word individual to individual, to getting all of us so that we're working from a common values. The values is where we're failing in our society. We're very efficient. We build rockets, are great. We're very wealthy. We got that down. We got our subsistence level. Their starvation is pretty much wiped out, right? I mean, we got those things covered. The problems where we come with, and we're very rational. We build rockets. We're very good in mathematics, engineering. We build bridges and all that. It's the values that's the problem in our society, and that's where we need to focus. And that's where I've directed my energies, my targeting energies, is that and through this book.
Would you think values is what causes crime? Because right now we seem to have at least crime is either a hot topic or it seems like it's on the rise.
Well, there's a lot of different reasons, a lot of causes for crime. And my professor, in fact, you'll meet him, Danielle, if we when you come over here. My professor, I actually went and guest subbed on his at one of his classes and talked with him. He's a criminal justice professor from UCF, brilliant guy, Dr. Reynolds, and he asked me this very question about the cause of crime. That is the basis of criminal justice. What we study in criminal justice. My master's was in this, and there's no one answer. A lot of it is I've got a big problem with the definition of crime. That's why I usually take a subset like murder. What causes murder? That might be an easier question to answer. And so rather than crime, because crime can mean an innumerable number of things, and a lot of it is just irrationally defined by the legislature. So when you say that, I mean, what causes petty theft? What causes embezzlement? What causes battery? What causes domestic violence? What causes burglaries? What causes murders? I mean, these are all very different sources and different questions. So you have to refine that.
I think I asked the wrong question. I think I should have focused on that you are in the position to see this. Is where I'm asking the question about crime. I guess maybe it's because it's being reported that way. Are you seeing that in real life?
Well, the crime is actually way down.
Well, see, there you go. That's not what they tell you on the news.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the National Crime Report, but defining it, the thing is a lot of it's jurisdictionally based. I mean, Florida, we're such hard asses, and I mean, there is something to be said for that. The broken windows theory, and ticky-tacky crimes, focusing on those, and we're merciless. If you get convicted of a crime in Florida, you're going to go down. I mean, well, and this case that you've been covering. It's like the sentencing range that is like 10 to 30 years. Yeah, that's for the
huge,
third lesser, right? I mean, I remember a judge, Judge Richard O. Watson, my favorite judge of all time. Great judge. I practiced in front of. I did maybe 25 trials in front of him. And one time when I was prosecuting and he was the judge, and it came back on a resentencing. He made an error in the sentencing, and it came back for resentencing. And in sentencing, we went from 12 years to 8 years. And he said to the defendant, he's like, I've been thinking a lot about your case, and I really feel like, I'm gonna give you 8 years. And I was grumbling. I was really friendly with Judge Watson. I'm like, oh man, I was a little grumbly, more than I should have been, but he was my buddy, and I showed my distaste for his sentence, right? And I remember Judge Watson up on the bench, and he puts his glasses down. He's like, son, 8 years is a long time. I was like, oh. Yeah, I guess it is. So when people throw around this time, that's insane. That's life-changing death, right? I mean, that's crazy numbers they talk about. What did he say?
Oh, this is the Broken Baker. He's another fan of yours. Still going, and now with Steve. This just became a great morning. He's Danish. He lives in
I know.
Denmark.
I've seen him.
Yeah.
He was on with Nick, the Swedish labor lawyer. I'm just talking, and here I am taking over the stream. I'm sorry.
No, dude.
I interrupted, but you were talking about me, and I'm like, my ears are burning, and you're talking about my book. I'm like, hell, I got to talk about my book. But the question is crime. What causes crime?
Well, I mean, yeah, is it a value thing?
Refined question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, what causes murder? See, one of the reasons the death penalty is not a deterrent is because most all murders are irrational, and in deterrence depends on a rational actor. So that means that you see, and I've dealt with lots and lots of murders. I get done with it. I'm like, why did this murder happen?
So deterrence really only works against the good guys.
Yes, and I will say there's a very specific subset there's specific deterrence and there's general deterrence. Those are two different things. Specific deterrence on certain subsets of I would say sex offenders is the thing. And I mean, in all honesty and in steel manning the argument, certain sex offenders will be deterred by the death penalty, but it's a very small subset of individuals. So, but you have to account for positive things. But general deterrence does not work. There's no evidence at all that the existence of a death penalty will generally deter crime. Thus doesn't, and it comports with my experience, which is that most murders are irrational, and people hate that. Families of murder victims hate that because they want to ascribe greater meaning to the death of their loved one than it may have. Meaning in life comes from how you live your life, not how it's ended. And but what happens is the death is such a shocking emotional event that it elevates in importance, and they pour all of their unresolved issues into this death and to the resolution of that death, rather than reconciling them to say that's the end of a natural life and it was shortened and prematurely and I mourn for the loss. But instead we go beyond that. We say, oh, well, this death must have some sort of meaning. That's why we infuse
everything is don't forget or
nations and stuff, because it's like it's got to have some greater meaning here, when in fact most of the time it has no meaning. And it's a hard thing to hear from somebody, especially when you just had a murdered loved one. Oh, this death is meaningless. It was just because of some territoriality, or somebody was disrespected, or they're going by and they're capping off because it's just like that's the thing to do, or stupidity, insanity. Somebody's crazy and they're seeing ghosts and they shot him, or they shot the. It's like all these things are very primal, brutal kind of things. What's Danielle? What are you laughing at?
The expert's ghost.
Yeah, there's we've caught a shadow that runs back and forth. Waifu Kron. She put up a clip of it on her Twitter. You can see as the dark image comes over, and then it comes back over here, and it stops. It looks, and then it bleeds out this way. It's gosh, I'm cold chills. Yeah, which I don't believe in stuff like that because I'm very Catholic. I know the rosary, which I'm going
to spoil the stream. I know why you have a shadow there. But if you want to keep it going, I'll let it keep rolling because it's.
What is it?
It's not a shadow. It's a remnant of your video camera, that is the light that's behind you there. It's an autofocus issue, so it's in your camera and your visual. It's not behind you. It's not actually behind you. It's just your camera is adjusting as you move your head and stuff.
And this is why people. You have to have experts on in trials.
Yeah, it's a remnant of your camera, and it's adjusting for different light variations as you move.
Oh well. Good night, everybody. I can go to sleep finally.
I blew it.
That is awesome.
Ghost. I mean, it's like
holy cow! Why didn't I just hit you up early on?
Could be a ghost.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Either.
I don't like Ghost. Me and Ghost don't get along.
It's either. I don't know. I hate.
Yeah, we don't get along.
But I watched it. I saw that you shrieking out about it, and I'm like, that's just his camera readjusting. But yeah.
Wait a second. So that means probably someone in the chat knew the same thing, and they're over there. They're laughing at me. Thanks, guys. Thanks, chat. You know, talking about not being a deterrent and everything else in the mind. You know, a lot of times it just happens with a murder. It's like, you know, drove by, it's capped the gang member. What? I have to ask a question, and this
terrible.
Well, this is for my wife, even though she's not here. My wife is amazed by the mindset of the serial killer.
Mm.
Do you have? That's the person who they plan on committing the crime. I mean, that is a very intentional act.
Right.
I mean,
Well, we deal with it. We've had a lot of serial killers. I mean, look up on the internet, Google Gerald Stano. He was. Oh, isn't that sweet? Thank you, Broken Baker.
Smartest man on the tubes and a Ghostbuster.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Stano was a very prolific serial killer in history. Daytona, we have an attraction for serial killers. In fact, the boss, I was telling you, the prosecutor who hired me, John Tanner, got the first death sentence on
Eileen Wuornos.
Ted Bundy.
Oh, Ted Bundy.
And Eileen Wuornos. And our office represented Eileen Wuornos in her appeals. Yeah. She was a broken person.
Yes. Yeah.
But the interesting, what's that?
Very sad story there too.
Did you see Monster?
Mm-hmm.
Is that who that is?
It's a wonderful movie.
Really well done. That woman who played Eileen Wuornos,
Charlize Theron. Mm-hmm.
Amazing job.
Yeah, how can she go from being so hot to so not in so many films? It's like, well, I'm afraid like she's gonna get stuck in the middle sometime. Sorry.
Impossible. She's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very sad. That's an interesting psychological play because, like the Ship Business trial that we just saw, that is an oddball woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because women have a different way of expressing their evil.
Mm-hmm. So, with Ship Business, you know, my friend Yaya knew her as a child. She grew up in that neighborhood and everything. The judge was Yaya's divorce attorney. Green Bay is a small town.
Yeah.
It was very weird. And then when you say this about women, right after that case ended, a buddy of mine who's a police officer out in Vegas lets me know that there is a woman out there who ended her boyfriend by taking his head off.
Well, what did your friend say about Ship Business as far as a person? Did she give you any insights?
Yaya? Yeah, she said she was a great little girl. She goes, she used to come to my house. I was like the block mom. You know, she said she used to call me mom. She said the problem was that her family and her upbringing. She said I don't think she ever had a chance. Her mother passed away of alcoholism. That was in the trial as well. She's like, then she got very big into crystal meth.
Right, meth. Well, cocaine is involved in about, I'd say, 75 to 80% of murders, and really? Meth is close to that. I mean, meth is, you know, I don't have as much. I've seen it. It's not as common as cocaine, but meth also, it's around it. Now, you know, either it's in the dealing side or the person's on it or they want it or they're addicted. And it may not be the direct cause, but it's clouding around the murders in some way. You know, you always see cocaine and meth. I've seen meth in multiple murder cases too. And it has an odd effect on the chemistry of the brain. I don't know what it is.
Makes you delusional, yeah.
Yeah, and but see, the thing that's hard to understand about serial killers.
He had just put up right before you did, said make it irrational in the brain, which
right
about meth, yeah.
Well, you know, and there's internal and there's external controls. Okay, So we have morality, we have internal controls, and then you're talking about law, which is external controls, threats of punishment, rewards and punishment from external, and rewards and punishment internally, right? It's hard for normal people that I assume that we all are here to understand that some people, serial killer, for example, enjoys killing. Okay, they want to kill, they fantasize about, like Jeffrey Dahmer enjoyed the physical, he enjoyed killing. He wanted to dissect people and see how they operated. He dissected animals before he wanted to create sex zombies. He had all these crazy fantasies, drilling holes in their heads to pour acid so he could make them into a zombie. And it was like, he's got all these weird things. Now, rationally, I can tell you that and explain that to you in a rational way. And you may understand it at a rational level, but you can't relate to it as a human being because it's so repulsive and foreign, right? So this is where it's hard. It's hard to understand it sometimes. And I call this like the drop off. It's like there's a cliff of lack of acknowledgement, right? Because I try to assess the world by looking internally and like I said, I acknowledge my evil side and I acknowledge my dark side and try to recognize it, acknowledge it, and then choose it once it becomes part of my consciousness, right? I have these evil desires and good desires, and you try to sort them out, but be honest with yourself that these are your humans. But nowhere in my consciousness do I ever want to dissect an animal and look inside their guts, right? It's just not within my being, right? It's like, okay, so I don't relate to it at all. Now, rationally, I can say, okay, this person enjoys this, right? But it's hard. It's the same thing with like pedophiles. Pedophiles, like they are legitimately attracted to and stimulated by children. Now I can relate to it. It's like, okay, I have a sex drive and I like beautiful women, right? But it's to translate it. I mean, and the stuff you have to see as a criminal defense lawyer is just horrific. It's so horrible. You just can't relate to it, right? So it's like, so there's that drop off. It's like this disconnect. But the thing is don't let your own self betray you. There are people out there that enjoy killing. Once like Ted Bundy, he enjoyed killing. He got power. He got off on it. The BTK killer, these serial killers, he enjoyed torturing. He enjoyed the image of torturing somebody to death. And he was a family man. The BTK killer's daughter is out there.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having these like dark demons that are in the head? And how do you disclose this? So what I'm saying is, so you might have external controls and internal controls. Well, if those internal controls are not working and you think you can get away with it, there's nothing barring you from doing it. See, like Shabusiness, I think she really enjoyed the act of killing. She enjoyed the bondage, which was unusual for a woman, because a woman usually isn't that kind of sadistic, that kind of, taking apart the body and doing those kind of things. That's an unusual thing. I don't think I've ever quite seen it. Like Warnos was a serial killer, but she wasn't motivated by the killing necessarily. She was doing it for money and for profit, and she was cold and had no compassion. But she wasn't dissecting the body and sleeping with it. That's a bizarre set of mental things. I mean, it's really an odd. So I don't know. I'm explaining to you people who ask about serial killers because it is fascinating. Like Gerald Piano, I was telling you about, who was somebody who I think killed up to 60 people here in Daytona. And it's funny, I go by his apartment every day to work, and I was like, there's Stano's apartment. And he was married. And when he was a baby, he was basically put in a cage and neglected for 6 months of his infancy. He was completely taken away from his family. His mother, who basically put him in a cage, and he ate his own feces, and he never recovered from that early childhood trauma. And it's like he was built in, and so whatever was in his head, this like some kind of disconnect. Those early childhood years are so important. And fetal alcohol syndrome can cause a dullness. There's a lot of drugs. Mothers taking drugs can cause mental thing. What causes these mental fantasies? I don't know. It's inexplicable, but there is a range. There's a billion people in the world, 7 billion people in the world, and millions in the country. There's going to be somebody who's miswired over here, who gets these connections, and it's a percentage of the population. And then it's like, do they have internal control? Do they have external controls? If you ever watch sociopaths, like there's interviews with sociopaths, there's some sociopaths who get along in society fine and never commit crime. And they will tell you, but I have no feeling towards anybody. Everybody's there to be used. It's a fascinating, fascinating interviews.
They say people like that too. You don't know, like you might not know that they're like that, but you just naturally want to be around them. Like,
and they know how to play you.
Yeah, and you really want to be around them, but you don't know why. They said it could be like a psychopath or like a sociopath or whatever. So.
Very interesting, and it's fascinating. So, but ultimately, I mean, I rationalize and I look at it and I can say, okay, this is why this happened. Just common stupidity too. Like, the murder, a lot of murders are just common stupidity. It's like you killed this person because they have $10 and they wouldn't give you 20 or something. I mean, it's like, what? I mean, it's like, it's so irrational. It's so stupid, it's irrational. But the serial killer generally is rational. And what they are doing is they enjoy some aspect of the killing. Or there's some, it goes.
So Baker's saying, don't most serial killers have the smartest guy in the room syndrome? So they always believe they can talk their way out of everything. That's is that like narcissistic or?
Yeah, the narcissism.
Well, there's deadly, what is it? The dark triad of personality.
Mm-hmm.
They're very well studied and profiled. It's just, but recognize there is some extreme percentage of people who have this dark triad, who add to that, like they tend to like arson. They dissect animals as youths. There's this dark triad of personality, and then some subset of that will turn into serial killer. Mm-hmm. It's tough, and they're not deterred by the death penalty.
No.
Yeah, they're not. It's funny. My rabbit, she's a clinical therapist, and so she has like what I've discovered is that every therapist has this thing about. And I don't think they know this, but they always seem to have their favorite serial killer. And for her, it's Ted Bundy.
Right.
And I'm like, why is that? And it's so funny when you get her and I ask somebody else that question together in a room, and they're both like, oh, and they could go right down the line. Well, he was handsome, he was charming, he was all these things. I'm like, you guys do realize you're talking about Ted Bundy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But see, this is why evil is fascinating, because we are very good liars. And, as people, human beings are great liars and deceivers. And so we look at somebody and what he did. And there's this fascination. It's like, if I can figure out how to get through this, how do I detect the deception that is obviously inherent in this person? And there's this rubbernecking thing too. Like we're going by the accident and you look. And then there's another thing about women, and I'll say to Danielle, in all due respect, that women tend to be hypergamous, right? And so they're looking for men who are on the top of the dominance hierarchy, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a certain subset of women that predatory, that top apex predator guy appeals to them as top of the dominance hierarchy.
It's true.
Right? Yeah. And it's not all women, but some women do look at that, and they're sexually attracted to that. And in fact, that's probably why those people exist in the society, because they pass along their breeding stock, right? Because some woman found them attractive because they're dominant. Now, it may have been it's an odd collection of humanity. I mean, we are all capable of good and evil. This is the point. We have good and evil running down the center of our hearts, and we need to be very honest with ourselves and be careful, because if you suppress it, it will control you. If you don't acknowledge evil within yourself,
Yes.
to enslave you.
Mhm.
One of the things you said there reminded me of one of the first times I met Baker, the Broken Baker, was he said, Taylor should business. He's like, I feel like I could fix her. And I was
Yeah.
like, dude, that you are hilarious, man. You know, I mean, he was trying to
Well,
get
and
me.
men are blind. Look, men are blinded by beauty. Like Jodi Arias, she's a pretty
Mhm.
woman. I was watching with Nick Zerov. I subbed for MLS, I think it was, and oh, there's MLS, yeah. And I subbed for him for on Nick's show, looking at Jodi Arias. I know nothing about that case, but I was like, she's a pretty woman. And it's like I know what she did to that guy. The guy's in the shower going, huh? And she's like,
Yeah.
got the knife. And I mean, there's some body pictures I've seen of him, right? I mean, she went to town on that guy and
Yes, she
won
did.
murder. But yet here's a guy thinking, oh, she's hot. I mean, it's like it's the same sort of thing. What kind of guy? We know this, right? But how would you react if she was actually next to you, right? And you look at her and you're like, what is the deception here? How do I detect that evil in a woman? Because, right? I mean, she's
If a woman ever had interest in me, I always figured there was something else up.
well, no, but this is the thing. Men are vulnerable just like women are vulnerable to certain pathologies, and I don't know.
I gotta get this real quick. Sending much love to you all. Thank you, talking trash and truth, Shelly. She loves you. There's so many people, Steve, that it's so funny for me to hear them come. It's funny. I don't want that to sound bad because what it is people come in, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, like, did you hear Ghazi say this or that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's a great guy. And he's genuine." And what he is there a? I'm getting an echo on my end. I think the ghost
The
is mad
ghost
at you
line.
now.
The
Yeah.
Ghost
ghost
has
got-
entered your audio stream.
No, but I'm gonna, of course, I thank you for being a friend of ours, and you're a friend to everybody, which I admire, by the way.
Well, I'm kind of one of the things people say. Well, I'll go on almost any stream, with a couple exceptions. I'll do it once because it's like, okay, people are out there starting, and people were nice to me, and I mean, I think that you at least, I mean, I don't mind going on. Like, I'll go on a stream to help them out and to put it in and to talk. And I mean, I love talking and meeting different people and finding out what they're about. But this is really such a distraction. One thing you were saying before I came on, and kind of one of the things is like red meat or putting that little is
I wasn't trying to.
no, I know, but I was like
Danielle she's bad about it.
Danielle. Once Danielle came on, I'm like, oh, I got to go on with Danielle because she's my bud. Oh, I don't know. I lost it now. What were you saying? I don't know. I forgot. I'll lose a train of thought. I'm getting tired. I need to go to bed. But I don't know. What was I saying? Before I came on.
It was one of the red meat things that got you.
I don't know. I lost it. I
I was
lost
like
the
chewing my
train.
Pop-Tart. I'm mukbanging here with Steve Gosney and Danielle. So this is it. I never thought this would happen.
There's a lot of good people out there, and I'd like to mix it up and hear what everybody has to say. Yeah, Broken Baker, he's got on one of these days, and the fellow here, the other one that was asking me to come on,
Winning Reality.
Winning
He's got
Reality.
some good stuff out again.
I'll go.
I have to apologize to the chat. You guys know that I'm a total fanboy of Steve Gosney's, and I was stuck on his every word because if I let it get past me, I'm gonna be so lost. I'll never catch up. I'll just sit there and go, good point. Yeah, I concur.
Well, I don't know. I appreciate it. It's very kind. And you've got a nice little crew here. There's like a little subset of crew here with the Valhalla Awaits and the Danielle crew and the Kaiser Pineapple and
Oh, I love. This is the greatest little thing, and it all kind of popped up at once. It's funny. It was actually I hate to say this, Steve. Again, I have to send sunshine your way, but it was you invited me on. It was the Aussie Overlord stream. you came on that morning. He was getting ready to go to. He did a 24-hour before he went to Anime Matsuri,
Mhm.
and you had come on for a little bit, and then that evening I think you streamed. And you invited me on, and that's when I met MLG and MLS and Valhalla's like, oh man, he's like, I told you all about God. He's so great. Which, by the way, Valhalla is he's taking the night off because he spent the weekend at the Ricada event in Nashville.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I was going to tell you is that you were talking about came back to me about promoting the internet. Like I don't know how many subs I have on YouTube.
Love
I
that.
know that I had like 6,500 Rumble subs, but I don't really keep track of it. I don't really care. I mean, I do care. I care about each individual person, but I don't want to be like working the algorithm and making sure I go on and say stuff when I've got something to say. And if I don't have something to say, but I always got something to say, but I like to have a show that's got some theme or something something I can impart. And if not, I'm not just going to do it just to hang out. I mean, I do hang out. I mean, well, how do I say this? My real job is appeals. I'm a public defender. I do criminal appeals. I've got that. And then I'm also teaching American law courses, criminal procedure. That's like number 2. And then I like writing my books. And I like selling my books because I want people to read my books, right? And so this is sort of a subset of marketing books because I want people to read. I mean, I really want people to like affecting Danielle. And I think that this has a sweet story behind it. And this has, each one of these things has its own little market. I start streams never knowing what I'm going to say. Well, I kind of have a framework usually of
Well, that's why he and I get along so well.
yeah. But I did want to kind of I did want to tell you that because like it is, I forget how you characterized it, but I don't want to have to be like, oh, I'm dependent on this income stream or something, right? Or I get off on the popularity contest of I need 10,000 subscribers by tomorrow, or
those always turn me off. Asking for money and doing this and doing that. I'm like, man, it's just see,
because it
I
wouldn't
don't
kill
know.
me to get, but
Yeah,
my wife's
right.
very happy. Actually, do you want honesty? She's like,
Yes.
she gets like, she's happy when I get donations. I just want to write the next book,
Hmm.
right? And I want it to support itself so that then I can write the next one, right? So I want Brucey to sell so I can do my difficult dog, my next children's book, or I want to sell death penalty debates so I can write death penalty designs. And, I want to do a new, this is like, I've always got like, I want to do the next thing. I want the next book. And if they don't support themselves, then my wife will shut me down.
Well,
The selling of the books, a lot of this has to do with so that it keeps me going, and I've had some great benefactors, some people that have just been great for me, and Patrick and Let's Go Brandon and Aussie Overlord and people selling my books, Ricada and Vices have been great selling books, and so that kind of it keeps me going. I mean, I'm comfortable. I don't need really the reason this little thing exists is so that I can keep doing it, right? I want people to keep buying the books so that I can keep writing the books. And people like if they like this one or they like this one, then get another one, right? Make sure you've got all of my books, right? I know because I track the sales and I know how many I've sold of each one, and I know that most people don't have all my books.
I do.
Daniel's special, but you even have.
I have the hard copies, dude.
That's only very, very few people. Very few people have that. She's very special. Danielle is one of my earliest supporters, and I'd love to have Nicole Maxwell is my president of my fan club. We're probably going to travel to Ireland next year, and I was thinking maybe I'd
wait a
take
second.
some stuff.
Is that how she came over to me? Was from you?
Probably, yeah. She's
Oh, that's so weird. I was like, how'd somebody from Ireland find me? And she's
Oh, and
nice and she
you remember when we
chats.
stream sniped you and we were with Legal Mindset?
Yes,
That
that was
was so
awesome.
fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love stuff like that. And that's something that's great. Man, see, I was going to even ask a different version of this. Is like, I was going to ask like about how you said like you use this to sell your books, and I was thinking, I was like, well, why isn't this kind of like your books? And then it's like, screen sniping. I was like, well, it's so much fun. Why is this so fun? And once it is fun, you want to keep doing it, and then you see success. It's just it's a weird thing for me, and I think it's a weird thing for a lot of us. Just seeing how this
Well,
wonderful world
it's
has put
fun
us
meeting
together.
people and like look who I've met here, and I got to meet Valhalla, and I got to meet Ricada, and I got to meet, of course, Andrew Branca and I are pretty close. I mean, he's my guy. He's the guy that brought me into all this.
I loved him. Well, see, I don't know him personally like you, obviously, and but I'm a very big Second Amendment guy, and so when he started, I started finding him. I was like, oh man, this guy's awesome. But you know what? I was listening to a comic book stream last night, and evidently he has some beef with a comic book creator. So this is the funniest thing. They were talking about. They were like, "Yeah, man, what'd you do to Bronca?" And he's like, "I don't know. I don't know why I talked to him or anything." It's John Malin's the guy's name. But anyway, like evidently they were on a stream together, and Bronca goes, "What's your name?" And then wrote it down, and nobody knows why over there, and they all think that Bronca they're scared of him. I just think it's the funniest thing. They were like trying to say like, we need to get him together and we can all stream and figure out what's happening here. I was like,
well, he's one of the most honest and real people you're going to meet, and his family is beautiful. He's a beautiful family. He is so lucky. You don't know how
awesome.
lucky this guy is. His wife is spectacular. His kids are spectacular, and he comes across. People take him the wrong way. I know that I get it. I completely get it why they do, and because he gets talking. But you ask him a question, he's going to give you what he thinks, and yeah. So I would love, one of these days, one of you guys, if you guys really want to do Cosby a favor, find that first appearance on Ricada's show. Because I remember it was Branca that got me on his show, and I'd love to go back and watch that and see how I acted, because see how I've changed and improved or not improved. Because the whole thing is I knew Branca from many years of interacting with him, because he is legitimately the guy for self-defense. I mean, if you want,
it's amazing.
He knows he is really the self-defense expert in this country. He really knows what he's talking about. He surveys. He's built his whole career on this, so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to self-defense law. And
what's great is that he simplifies it for the layperson.
Right. And so what happened was, I was watching the Zimmerman trial, and that was in my jurisdiction. So if he had gotten convicted, it would have been coming my way on appeals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and so I started and he was the only person that made any sense to me when commenting on that trial. So I was watching that trial because I thought I might get it. And then when I sent a little email to him. I said, I love what you're writing. He wrote on legal insurrection. He followed that trial, and he was the only one making any sense. And so he wrote back, and occasionally I'd get a self-defense case and on some appeal, and I'd ask him like, hey, what about this? Or he'd have some Florida law question and call me up or email me and say, hey, Gosney, what's the deal on this thing? And so we just kind of knew each other. And so here I am, and I'm discovering this whole internet thing with this law, and he was on with Ricada, and I'm chatting away in the chats because I'm a chatter, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then Branca says, he's like, Gosney's in the chat, and Ricada's like, who? Like, Gosney's in the chat, get him on, send him a link. And so Nick sends me this link, and I'm like, huh, what? He's like, yeah, just click on it. So I come on this show. I didn't have any clue what this whole thing was about. And then that's when, like, so Danielle had talked about. Then Danielle, then that's when he started, because I would come on these streams and I'd say, well, we go around, what are you grifting? And they'd be like, go to this and sign up for this, and I'd be like, I got nothing. Go and download my articles on SSRN, my academic articles. It doesn't get me anything, but I got nothing to grift.
Yeah.
And then Branca's like, you need to put those together in a book. You need to do that. And so he's like, and I'm like, yeah, he's right. I should do that.
Well, have you ever thought about writing about your journey to YouTube?
That's an interesting idea.
Because you're not a traditional guy for this, for everything you said. I'm like, I mean, you're an author. You're something that you have a power that I don't possess. I would love to be able to write a book, and I thought, okay, this is it. You know, I've got the time here right now. I can do something, and I give out a paragraph, and I'm like, what am I doing? I feel stupid. So you're on the other side of it, and I think that would be amazing. See, like, I don't know, you have, I don't know.
I could.
You have a
I've
way
got
with words that and I'll just leave it at that.
I've got
I think
tons
right
of-
now I'm blushing myself.
I've got tons of family writings. You know, I've written about my Aunt Evelyn. It's called Evelyn's Story. I've written about my Aunt Marion. It's called Marion's Story. I've written about my Uncle Bus, called Buster's Story. I've written I have my mom's story, my dad's story, my grandfather's story. Some of those I did not write, but I have a lot of family history. I have actually written my story, but it's never going out until I pass away. but actually, Summer Friend is out of my story. I thought it was a good little vignette that kind of was a charm, a one that I could kind of isolate and put out there, and it would make mostly true, right? So I've done a lot of writing, and that's all nonfiction, and this is all nonfiction. This is the first one now. My fantasy novel is going to be. See, check it out. Like here's my fantasy world. See there, I've got that's my map. It's important. Did you see my interview with John C. Wright by any chance? The author, the science fiction author?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's great. Did you see him?
Yes. I
Yeah,
came in like on the
couple
end.
of them.
So he's and his wife, they let me watch his writing seminar. So I took his writing seminar. So I don't know. What am I talking about now? I'm getting a little tired. I probably ought to. It's
I'm
midnight.
sorry.
and
What's
I
a
gotta
writing seminar, though? What's
What?
that about? What's a
Well,
writing
how to
seminar?
write fiction, because I don't know how to write fiction. But I've been working on it. I told you, here it is right here. Let me show you. In fact, I've been saving my drafts because I know some people like the draft. Yeah, this is my fantasy novel so far.
I've got to get a printer. What printer does Steve Gosney use? What do you endorse?
I don't endorse it.
I'm looking at a brother.
Just I don't endorse things. And not that it's just a printer.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Anyways, yeah, you got to write. I've got it. Oh, you want to say? Oh, wow, maybe I can share it. Maybe I can present.
Okay.
Wow, should I do that? I haven't hired him yet, but I've got these fantasy. I've got this great art illustrator from Bulgaria who I've got on the hook who's going to do my cover, and I love putting out books. Isn't it cool? I'm a guy, and I'm a lawyer, and so what lawyer guys don't love books? So I just find such a sense of accomplishment about having something else. Yeah, I need
Good
to
night, Michigan. Steve, the way you just smiled and your eyes lit up, very rarely do I see that, and that is so awesome to see that passion about writing.
It
Right? I
didn't
mean,
used
that's
to be that way. I used to hate to write.
what
but-
changed.
Yeah, well, like when I was in college, it was work and it's hard, and I wasn't good at. And I was a creative writer. I wrote poetry, and then I actually did really well. I made an A in Dr. Raymond's creative writing class, and he was brutal at Stetson. Man, he was a tough teacher. But I just I drifted away. I was a history major in college, and then when I got out of college, I became a nonprofit association management executive officer, and we had newsletters, and so I'd put together newsletters. We won some national awards for communications, and in both the Realtors Association and the Builders Association. And then we had hold on a second. I got one more story I want to tell you, but
Are you writing stuff down?
yeah, that's what I
God, I'm such an
Keep
amateur,
sticky
man.
notes.
So I don't forget. If I don't write it down, I forget. So then I did. Let's see. Then I went to law school, and then you write some more in law school, and then you write motion practice and stuff like that. But then appeal, and then of course I did civil law, and I did a lot of writing with civil law, motion practice mostly, and then then when I was in trial work, it's like I do a lot of writing, and then eventually appeals, then you really write technical writing, and that's all about reading and writing. And my writing just went through the roof with appeals. And then I wanted to learn how to write academically. That's why I went and got my master's degree from UCF, because I wanted
Well,
to
I didn't know that. So after you're a lawyer, you went back and got a master's?
Yeah, in criminal justice from University of Central Florida.
I can't keep up.
And then, but then that was in Dr. Reynolds was the guy that really inspired me to write and learn how to write academically, which was my goal, because it's like, okay, I know how to write technically. How do I write academically? And so I did that, and I wrote, that's what all ideas and answers, those are all law review articles mostly. And then I started doing writing contests. I kept trying to, some of the things in Prepare, some of the like the firearm stuff was actually a survival blog essays that I was trying to win the money from survival blog. So I'd write essays about preparing for emergencies and the hurricane. Those were from survival blog entries that I tried to win the money. And then I never did. I won a few gift cards to Amazon, but never won the big $10,000 prize. But then I had those kind of in the bank, and I had and then my academic writings for the bank. And then of course I write all the time. That's all I do. And eventually you just get good at it. It's a skill. And it's just, and I'm good at it. I know I'm good at it. And so I can do it. And it's just a matter of process. It's a matter of work and discipline and doing it and having a mission, having something you want to say. Like most of these articles, most of these things come from some germ of annoyance, like something's wrong here, or I want to learn about this, or am I an originalist? Or, there's always some purpose. There's something that inspires you. And John C. Wright talks about honoring the muse. And I love that, because it's like, it's a gift. Inspiration is a gift. And I write down, when I have inspiration, I write it down. I have about a 15-page document of ideas for writing. So when I'm working on a death penalty appeal, the inspiration's coming down. And I'm like, oh, I'd like to do an essay on that. I'd like to do this. And the inspiration hits. I'm like, okay. And so I write it down and I put it in my ideas for writing document, because you can't get into it immediately because you're working. It's a distraction. But if I don't write it down, it'll get forgotten. So I put it in that document and then go back to it. And I'll develop those ideas when I have time. So when I have time at work, like a lot of government workers sit around and smoke, goof off, and, do whatever they're doing. But when I'm off, like for the taxpayers got to get their money's worth out of me, I devote my time to learning and writing about the law and, helping out the trial division and doing these things.
I've got to say, this comment's great. JDMA. Any other letters following your name?
It's like I thought about doing a PhD, but what a mess. I looked into it, and it's like, why do I need that? I don't want
that is the exact same thing my wife said.
I wanted to tell you the reason. Another thing, you guys were talking about before I came on was Hawaiian Tropic.
Oh, yes.
I've got Hawaiian Tropic stories. I don't know if I've even told them, because Daytona Beach.
This is exclusive.
Ron Rice was the owner of Hawaiian Tropic. He passed away pretty recently, and he founded Hawaiian Tropic. He was a chemistry teacher at my high school, Seabreeze High School, in Daytona Beach, he was the founder of Hawaiian Tropic. And what he did was he would mix up he was a chemistry teacher at Seabreeze High School, and he would mix up the suntan lotion in these barrels in his garage, and they'd bottle it and they'd sell it at all the pool decks in Daytona Beach. And so what they'd do is they'd say that the lifeguard, we'll put a lifeguard out there and we'll clean your pool for the hotel. In exchange, we need a little hut and we'll sell the suntan lotion. And if you know Daytona, there's these hotels all up and down the road, right? So that's how he started Hawaiian Tropic. And I actually got him to speak at our when I was at Stetson. He came and spoke at our business school about marketing. He's a local guy. He lived he lived. His house is right on the beach. In fact, up where you're going to be staying, Danielle.
Okay.
Yeah, his house is right there.
Yeah, they have those real big houses right before you get to where I'm going to be at. I know what one you're talking about.
That's where he lived, and so I got lots of Hawaiian Tropic stories. I sold suntan lotion on the beach for Hawaiian Tropic back in the day on the pool decks.
Oh man, dude, yeah,
She
I
didn't
just,
do it. But like, and I got
that's
invited to the Hawaiian Tropic parties
there you
too. When I was selling lifeguard, he had a lifeguard party, and let me tell you, those are some pretty women.
go. It's amazing, isn't it? What the smell of coconut does.
They didn't really want anything to do with me, but I will say that they were pretty darn good looking. He didn't put any kind of criteria on them. There was no talent contest. There was no beauty. There was no quiz about what are you going to do to change the world. It was flat out feminine beauty, flat out. That's it. You look good in a bathing suit. Nothing else. That's the only thing that mattered on Hawaiian Topic Beauty Contest. So they weren't all brain surgeons, is what I'm saying. But boy, they were good looking.
You know, I'm not looking for the conversation when I'm talking about keeping skin cancer avoidance.
Well, this is a primal base male desires, but you know they went for the pretty surfer boys too. So it's like
Oh yeah.
the party.
So how did you do? Because that's what's I'm sitting there thinking. Well, okay. Well, first of all, you're a famous Sunset Strip rock and roller. So around this time, I got a feeling you weren't doing so bad with the suntan lotion.
Well, I don't know. I did okay. It wasn't that great a job. I should show you
You're humble again.
tanned though when I was like a tan beach tanned guy. But it's funny because one times I was coming back on an airplane from I did so many crazy things. I used to service for a company called Rapatoni, which was did computer and software stuff for realtor associations, and I would go repair Rapatoni computers around the country. So they'd fly me out to different, like, instead of flying somebody out from California, it was East Coast. They'd fly me and I'd repair it when I was right out of college. And I remember coming back on the plane, and it was the Hawaiian Tropic Beauty Contest was coming in, and I was like, you walk into a plane, you're like, something's odd about this plane. It's just like packed with all these.
I've seen a movie like that, right?
10 to model 10 girls, right? And you're like, oh man, this is something. Well, I had another story, the Hawaiian Tropic stories. Oh, did I tell you about the Hawaiian Tropic girl I hired? Because they had a honeybee, right? They had the honeybees and the worker bees, and he got sued over this because because he would hire all the pretty girls, and then the girls that were actually doing the work, right? So those are the worker bees, and then he had the honeybees, and they were there to look pretty. Well, I was when I just took over the Builders Association, I was always trying to hire somebody to come in. I only had 2 employees, and so I needed people to work, right? And so I was hiring people to come in and do the newsletter, which I knew how to do, but I couldn't do it. I had other duties, right? So this Hawaiian Tropic girl shows up, and she was a blonde bombshell. I mean, just top 10, top percentage women. And I'm like, looking at her, and I remember my friend Kevin Kasilniak, who's a good guy, and she comes in, and she's just blowing your socks off. But it's like, okay, that's great, but I really need somebody to do the newsletter, right? I mean, yes, I'm a young single guy, but I mean, and you're beautiful, fine, but I need somebody to do the newsletter, right? That's, and really, is this really what you want? Was kind of my question. I mean, like, you're a honeybee from Hawaii, and she's like, no, I'm sick of being a honeybee. I want to learn how to be a working person and really work for a living. And I'm like, okay, because I was like, I'll train you, I'll teach you how to do it. I'll give you these skills, right? No problems, right? I can train from the ground up, but you got to be willing to work, because I only got 2 employees and I can't deal with a honeybee. I need somebody working, right? She's reassuring me, like, yes, I can definitely do this. Now, I don't know, maybe she thought I was a mark because I'm a young single guy, but I'm like, I'm expecting some work right here, lady, right? So I remember when she left and we had like 10 people that we were looking at, and he had this funny sense of humor. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not certain that she can work. I'm not sure about her. And he's like, hire the bimbo. That was his advice, right? But so anyway, I hired her. I'm like, okay, hire. Come on in. Come show at 8 o'clock, and I'll put you on the computer. And I remember she sat there, lasted a week. she found out that
did she leave, or did you ask her to leave?
No, she left. She was not going to work. Like, I was like, you're going to work. You're going to work for God. You're going to do it, right? I mean, you're not going to look around looking pretty. I need some production here.
Did she need unemployment from
No, she was
taking the
real
summer
nice. She
off?
left. She was very nice about it, but she had her surfer boyfriend, and she's like, I just didn't expect that, this kind of work. I didn't expect this kind of workload. It's sad because she should have stuck with it because I really would have taught her. But you spread those. Remember, like spreading the seeds, like the mustard seeds onto the thing. I could have trained her. She would have been great. She would have been smart and beautiful, right? But
Have you ever had a thing like that happen where you run back into her later in life, but you're in your current job? I'm not saying this woman in particular, but like somebody, it's because I know someone. I promise I know someone that happened to. It's like they ran into somebody and it's like, oh, you're. I, I'm sorry I can't help you, because we have that previous relationship.
what was the
Like
question
like
originally?
Well, like like say her. Let's say like I'm not saying her, but like just somebody that you've had in your life. This moment of time, friend or associate that you have no reason to ever really run into again, except once you were a public defender. All of a sudden you're like, boy, I recognize that name somehow.
That happens all the time.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
you see that look Steve gave me? Like that happens all the time. I'm like, I just thought it'd be amazing, but
no, I'm born and raised in Ormond Beach.
oh,
So I
so
know the
you've
problem is I know where all the bodies are buried. It's a small town, and there's a
yeah,
lot
it
of
is.
connections. And I don't know.
Yeah, I spent my spring breaks down there, and I was always told it's much better to be a local than
Yeah,
to be a spring
definitely.
breaker.
Well, the worst, like I recognize somebody at first appearances. We have to cover first appearances like twice a year in appeals. We do rotations. Sometimes we pay somebody. We just pay them and they do it for us. But I had to cover first appearances, and I recognized somebody in the dock. Thank God they didn't recognize me because I did my job. Didn't tell them who I was, but I knew who they were. I recognized the name. And they were doing some crime. Got arrested the night before. And the problem is if I say, oh yeah, you know me, right? Then it's like all of a sudden they're my buddy, and you're not my buddy. You're in the dock, and it's like, okay, if I have to get in your role, like if I'm representing you, you're in big trouble. These are people with life in prison stuff. I've had that happen a lot, and maybe it's just because I'm born and raised here, and I'm a local, and I have deep roots, and I know a lot of people and a lot of connections. I mean, I'm just going through it. Even like the summer friend, my buddy Andrew,
Hmm.
follow up.
All
No,
right
this
then.
isn't in the book. I actually edited some stuff out of the book because I thought it detracted from the story. But when I was writing that, he actually emailed me just out
Out
of
of
the
the
blue.
blue? Oh
Out of the blue.
wow!
And he's like, "Hey guys, and he's giving me this stuff, and he's like, and he said to me something really nice. It's like, you're a really good friend. And I thought that was nice.
Wow.
Do you see? I'm really big into signs. I be you know I don't know. I remember this one time sermon. My wife is Methodist, and we were at her church, and I'm kind of halfway paying attention. And the preacher said to wrap things up, he was like, people ask for signs all the time. He said, "There's signs everywhere." He's like, "There's a billboard right here." It's like, "What does that say to you? What's this sign here?" He's like, "Sometimes signs that you just have to be willing to look, be able to realize what you're looking at. You're seeing a sign." And I don't know. The way it worked in my brain was that I don't need to dismiss everything. It's just like a coincidence or something like that. So when this happened to you, you're writing this book, and this guy emails you. Do you think that there was like that was like you guys were supposed? I don't know. To me, it looks like a sign. Does that make sense?
Well, Danielle,
Oh,
what
it's
do you
just a
think? What was
coincidence.
your impression of Summer Friend?
I thought it was good. I mean, I thought it was warming. There's a lot of places that you talked about that I know where it's at, and I don't know. I don't know the word for it.
Is it bittersweet or
Parts of it's, yeah, it's bittersweet, but the ending, you remember I sent you that email and I was saying, I don't want to give the ending away because the expert hasn't read it. So I'm trying to be careful what I say. So, because the ending is
You want me
what
to
really
leak?
was like, wow, no.
Yeah, and that's a true
Yeah,
story. It's a mostly true story.
I read it like as soon as I got it. Like I ended up, I think it took me like an hour and a half to read.
It's a short read. It's just a novelette.
Yeah,
It's not a hard read.
but it put me in my own little world, and it was just a sweet story.
Little escape
Very sweet.
about
It's
childhood.
an escape, and it you know, it gave me time with you as a kid. You know what I mean? And I like the whole music experience because that's one thing that I experienced as a kid. Music was my freedom.
Right.
And how you were introduced to music was very special. And how you just kind of went along, you know, and just learned how to surf. And you're just like, okay, you know, you just got in there and rolled with it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a sweet story, and how your friends interacted and the brother, and you know. So
I added in. There's a little salt and pepper in there of fiction to make it a little bit more cohesive, because it actually, the truth is, and I'll tell you, this is the truth of behind. It actually happened twice. That the summer friend spanned 2 summers, and so the first summer, and then we weren't friends, and then the next summer rolled around, and he was my friend again.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But that didn't add to the truth is that, but it doesn't add to the story. So I compressed it into one story, one summer. And there's some other little there's little peppers of things that I made it more readable. Like I put a little love interest in there. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's not really. I mean, Kim was she was a friend and all, but never really, she wasn't really that interested. There wasn't any real chemistry though.
There was no eye locking.
Well, that was a little, but I thought it was a nice little detail that added a little, because that's part of leaving childhood behind
it sparks the innocence between, kids at that age, like a male and a female, or, whatever was going, transpiring at the moment.
You notice the other sex, and that is part of that takes you out of childhood.
Yeah.
And that happened, but it wasn't that girl, right? I mean, so I would say that you start noticing those things, and smelling the hair, and seeing the eyes, and but those things, that wasn't that time or that girl, but it's true, but it's not. That wasn't true, but I threw that in there because I thought it was a nice little detail and touch, and added to because the story is about leaving childhood behind. And that's a big part of it. I mean, noticing the opposite sex kind of kicks you out of childhood, doesn't it?
Right. So the end of the book would have to do with the next summer then.
Yes, well, okay. It happened too. It was like 6th and 7th grade, right? There was 2 summers, and then we were kind of not friends for about 4 years, and then that end vignette did happen exactly like that.
No, that's one thing that really stood out to me, because
although I will say that wasn't really my parents that said that. It was really my decision. That was me projecting onto my parents. There's another little fictionalization, because when the parents were saying, and I was talking with them, I was the one that told them that was actually me, not my parents.
Okay, not your mom.
Right.
Okay.
But I put it that way because it's like the parent teaching the child, right? But it was actually.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, well, because
that's good though, because that's
it's kind of odd, because here I'm the kid and I'm trying to learn.
Mm-hmm.
For me to say, oh well, no, we should, and tell my parents what to do, that doesn't quite fit, does it?
No.
Yeah, so I changed that.
I can see why you did that. Okay.
But because it's like, well, what? Because they asked me, well, what do you want to do? And I thought through it, and that was my conclusion. But and part of it was
a good one. Mm-hmm.
They empowered me to make the decision.
Sure.
So in some ways, that's a lesson in itself. But yeah, and I saw him occasionally. Like I remember he came back in town once, and he was all buffed up, like steroided up. and I was out at a club going to see. Remember the Stranger Band? I don't know if you've seen Stranger Band. I was a stranger, and he was out there with his big roided out friends. He hardly acknowledged me.
Oh, yeah.
And he's actually been very successful. He's done some good things. He's worked for a big pharmaceutical company and won Jeopardy.
No kidding.
He's on Jeopardy. Won like four days in a row he won.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's I don't know if I told you, like, when my son cured me of that any problems I ever had, because I wrote this for my son, kind of. He was like, Dad, but Wafercron, good to see you. But so I wrote that for him, but he didn't care, but he knows the story, right? And one time he sent me a friend request on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever it is, and like I accepted. And I'm like, oh, cool, it's Andrew, right? Mm-hmm. And he was nice and said that. And like I said, there's no resentments. But I was saying, hey, Stevie, come look. This is Andrew, right? And he's got his big glasses, and he looks like an old middle-aged guy. And he's like, and my son cured me of any issues. He's like, that's him?
Yeah, I bet.
Because it's like, as we grow older, it's like you've got all these baggage issues with some cool kid from high school, and it's like now he's some old guy.
Big dork. That's funny.
So kids, your children have a way of moving you along.
Yeah, with their brutal honesty.
Yeah. So anyways, we're talking experts over here going,
no, man, it's funny. It actually got better for me because I could relax and listen. And I really, Steve, everything that it's weird how people come to me and said, like, how it's like, make this guy so great and stuff. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of great guys on the internet, sure. And I really do admire you, man. And I thank you so much for both you and Danielle for bringing me into your little corner of the world. This is, I don't deserve this, and I really appreciate it. And you guys are jewels. And
well, thank you. And I think I'm going to have to take my leave because I was
going to say, I usually do. I didn't realize how fast this whole stream went. Guys in the chat, thank you for being here. Danielle, thank you so much. We were going to goof off, talk about last night. And of course, Steve, thank you so much. And you're always welcome to come here. And I don't extend that invitation to anybody. So I don't think anybody else is welcome to come in here anytime.
Nobody else, just me.
Well, it's
Danielle's my deputy. I deputized Danielle. I hope you extend the same grace because she's a find. She's a find, isn't she?
I won't let her go anywhere.
I know.
So like, cause she came out and she was like, I've never done this before. I was like, wait a second, you've never been on? No, I haven't. I was like, please don't go anywhere. It's like there's a big scary world out there. And I'm like, no, I was like, please don't. I was like, you're absolutely love her to death. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. Tomorrow we're going to do, see if I can find these. I found some local trials I'm going to try to do because I got a little interested. A lot of people came to me and said, hey, this is really cool. When did you start doing trials? Like, I was like, when it becomes an issue that matters, like say constitutional issues and stuff like that. And when not everybody else is doing, everybody wants to do these sexy streams, it's like, oh, it's a murder mystery of the jilted lovers. I'm sitting there going, we have a possible Fourth Amendment emergency here, people. Do you not realize how much joy this is? And it's like, anyway, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Steve Ghazi. Thank you, Danielle. And I don't know, I'm gonna be here all night, sitting back here, setting up next videos. Love you guys.
Well, I woke up to go get me a cold pop, and then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing, Jesus. I ran for my life. And then the smoke got her. I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Well, I woke up to go get me a said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing, Jesus. I ran for my life. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Jesus, 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 it's a fire. I said, oh Lord